Welcome, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Chatting with the Comic Community. This is your boy Sean, aka Stay Puff 1983, and I'm back on another Saturday where we have topics and discussions about comic books and life in general. Today's topic is going to be favorite stories that we've read in comic books. Whether it's a run, a single issue story, whatever. What's your favorite story that you ever read in comic books? And I am joined by always my regular panelists, Stone Cold Steve. What's going on?
What's going on, everybody? Good morning or afternoon, wherever you're at.
And I am also joined by a new person making his first appearance on Chatting with the Comic Community, JB, aka Discovery Bay Comics. What's going on?
How you doing, everybody? Thanks for having me on the show today, Puff. And I'm excited. This one's going to be good. I've never been on the show before, so this is going to be, actually, I get to put this as a guest appearance now. This is going to show up on a playlist under guest appearances.
Yeah, man. Now I gotta be on your show so you can do all the intros and stuff like that.
By the way, I am drinking, and I'm always shouting out coffee mugs with YouTubers on it, but this one is actually a good one. It says, "Be the change you wish to see in the world, Gandhi." So that's going to be my new thing. I want to try to show some inspirational coffee mug sayings.
Nice.
Every morning on the morning show. Look for it.
Hey. And returning after a hiatus, the Quest for Legends, aka Glenn. What's going on, my fellow?
How are you, sir? Thank you for having me, and definitely glad to be back. Missed you last time, but I'm here, set up, trying to get now. I see everybody kind of has their little setup here, so that's why I don't even know what side I'm on. Here we go. I even got my little inspiration for my name. So yeah, I'm glad to be back, and looking forward to talking with you all today.
Sweet. So, before we dive into the topics, just want to touch on the fact that last week's show with California Blend was such a success that people was going onto the website and buying up her art while we was live.
That was awesome. Yeah, I've seen some of the unboxings. Comic 84 Silver Surfer was man.
There he is, man.
Very nice. Very
Steve,
nice.
I saw you post that, and I was like, "Wow, that's legit,
dude." It is awesome, man. And she wrote on the back and signed it and everything. It's awesome. I got to get my wall together. Everybody's so far ahead of me, but I'm gonna get it together. I'm working on it. I got some crap, boy, here to put up.
Very
cool. We got Comics on the Mind in the chat. And he said he'll hop on once my roommate finishes installing the new router, so that's awesome.
You know what I love to say?
Comics.
Every time I see Comics on the Mind, I just need to shout out to anybody who's watching on the rewind or watching live. By the way, you've got Comics on the Mind.
You got Comics on the Mind.
That catchphrase.
I love it. I absolutely love it. It's just a great handle.
It's funny because it's so true, though. Is it not true?
Brilliant. Yeah. If you're watching this, you've got comics. I just love it.
Because if you're watching this, you dang sure got Comics on the Mind.
Damn right.
Well, right before I logged on, I'm not going to lie. I like a nap on a Saturday afternoon. So I was laying there. It's like I got like 15 minutes. I'm just going to shut my eyes and just kind of relax before I get on here. And no joke, I laid down, I closed my eyes, and immediately was like, all right, so I want to make sure I pulled all the books that I wanted to talk about today. It's a true statement. He's not wrong. It's like it's always somewhere in my thought process.
Very cool.
It's scary. It's scary.
Very
but it's
cool.
Awesome.
Definitely.
Yeah, man. It's awesome, man. And when he's on shows and stuff, he always bring that energy, that personality that's just fun and carefree. I love it.
Hey, Puff, real quick, I don't want to interrupt, but when there's a radio box setting that you're not checking that will push everybody up when you show a comment so that we don't cover this gentleman's face. Because right now when you're trying to comment, there's a checkbox on one of the
I think I know what you're talking about.
And it'll push it all up. Because if we're gonna go for an hour, and I'd hate to see him get covered up every time you highlight something.
I tend not to like that one too because
You don't
it
like that
kind
one?
of pushes the screen backwards. Just
Okay.
to highlight the
That's
comment.
right. That's in the other one. I'm sorry. I'll shut up now.
Yeah.
Keep going.
It's all right, man. It's all right.
Oh shit.
Mine's catchphrase is way better than Perry's. Yeah, I agree.
Lurking.
What do you mean?
So, the topic of today is our favorite stories that we've read in comic books. And I tell you, when I came up with this, I was like, what the hell am I thinking, man? Because there's a whole lot of great stories out there that I will have to literally go through my collection and remember what books that I really enjoyed, and there's a lot of them. I was just reading, one story, and I was like, because I ain't read it in so long. And I read it and I was like, damn, this reminds me of why I love comic books, because the story and how engaging it is and how it brings you, have you thinking and stuff like that. So since I'm on the top, I'll go ahead and start first. And yeah, this was the recent story that I read.
Oh, that book is so good. That book is so good. It's a one shot. It is so
It's a
freaking
one
good.
shot, but man, it delivers the punch that you need to say this is why superheroes matter. And this was like a shot at what, the Authority.
Yeah,
I think it
Stormwatch
was.
and
Yes.
the Authority. Yep.
Yeah, because Joe Kelly took a kind of offense of how they were doing with superheroes and doing ridiculous things to say, yeah, we superheroes, but you're still killing innocent people. So he said he challenged that notion with this issue. And man, I was like, this was so good, with Manchester Black and the elites, just going there and doing what they feel is necessary to save the day while having all these mass chaos and people dying. And, just looking at some of the panels, and I'm not a big Doug Mankey fan. I think his artwork could be iffy at times. But, when he drew the action panels, and here's the elite Manchester Black and his crew.
So good. So good.
It's so good, like you say, man. And it challenges the notion of, superheroes and their existence. Superheroes always capture the bad guy, but the bad guy always escape, do the thing. It's rinse, repeat. It's the same cycle. They feel like, oh, we just kill the superheroes and be done with it. But they're not caring about the environment that they're doing, where they destroy the villains and also destroy innocent lives as well. And to that point, and there's another character that I'm going to bring up about, the whole anti-hero thing and stuff like that. But when Superman comes into play, he's like, you can't do this, because not only you're killing the villains, you're killing innocent people that shouldn't be involved with it. You're destroying cities. And that's the thing I loved about it, is that you had this anti-hero challenge the hero, because they say your way is passe, it's old school. Who wants to see men in tights do this dance with villains and stuff? We just kill them, get down to the point and end it. It's over. You ain't got to worry about them coming out of jail and breaking free and doing the same stuff. You kill them and that's it. But Superman said, nah, buck that trend. This is how we do it. We maintain our status quo by being the heroes that we are. And if they break out of jail, we do what we're supposed to do, and that stop them and send them back to jail. Let the trial, the court justice do its process. So I just love this story, and this page right here just seals it for me. When Superman's just, giving it to him with the look and explaining it to him that,
he's giving him the business right there. My boy don't.
Yeah, man, he's giving the business. Like, no matter what you do, I'm gonna be here to stop you. Because Manchester was so mad that he was outsmarted, and Superman lobotomized his powers, that he said, I'll come back and I'm gonna get you. You should have killed me. And Superman's like, it's gonna be the same repeat rinse that has always been. You're gonna get defeated, and you're gonna keep saying the same thing over and over. So I just love this story. It's one of the best one shots I ever read. And it's just an amazing Superman story.
See, and the problem with this is that you put that up there. I didn't pull it, but I think I should have, because it is one of the best single issues I've ever read. And I'm not particularly a Superman fan, But holy cow, if it doesn't, I mean, I kept reading and I'm like, is this going to be the book where he turns the corner? Is this
What
going to
issue
be the
number is
book
that?
where he actually
775.
just goes one step beyond?
Yeah, where he loses it and just says, "Okay, let's
Where-
have it your way."
Yeah, and because if he did, then he'd be like Apollo from The Authority, which is just like, we're gonna go ahead and just decimate a city just to get rid of the infestation, and collateral damage is completely acceptable because we have to keep the overall order on the planet. I love The Authority for that reason. It is a completely impractical way of looking at things, and I get it. But man, if they didn't make a good point, I mean, they made a really good point in that book. But yeah, and the movie that they made off of it was really good too.
Yeah, I liked the movie. I just thought it was a great story, and it's an intelligent response to the Authority. You know, like
Yes,
the Authority in itself was a good series. You know, I enjoyed it, but you know, I thought this was a smartly written book that was intelligent and had its great points about, you know, yeah, can you take that authority too far? And that's where, you know, and they did it in one issue, a double-sized issue, and they was able to do it. Nowadays, this would probably be a 6-issue story arc.
Yeah,
true.
Everything
it would be like Silver Surfer
story arc,
Black.
they can sell you a trade.
Yeah.
Everything now is 6 issues.
Yep, everything's about the money.
So that's my first choice, you know. So I'm gonna move over to Stone Cold Steve. What's your one of your favorite reads?
My favorite, probably, you know, I don't read near as many books as you guys, but probably my favorite read was the one that was bought for me at last year's MegaCon, actually. Donny Cates in the God Country. How he's having, you know, the tough time with the he can't remember anything till the storm comes and he gets the sword. It was an awesome read to me, man. I mean, it was back in my time almost because I'm a little older than y'all. But I loved it, man. And I mean, it was just right to the point, you know what I mean? He got the sword. They want the sword back. He's not going to give the sword up. They can't take it from him unless he gives it to him, which was awesome. I just loved it, man. And all the art in it was great. I mean, I like it when it's like this. You know what I mean? It's easy to read. You don't have to, it just goes block to block. I loved it, man. I just thought it was awesome. I don't know if you guys read it or not, but if you have it.
I have not read it. I hope it comes up on Modern Men's book club someday.
And it's a real easy read because it's real interesting, man. You'll like it, man. I mean, they come through, the guy comes back and wants his sword back, but while he has the sword, he can remember everything. But before that, he had Alzheimer's and he couldn't remember anything. So it's really good, man. It's really good.
Awesome.
And that was probably my favorite read.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned Donny Cates because I'm going to segue into that too.
So when you guys do the book club, JB, do you guys agree on a book? Do you get to pick a book?
No. So actually, it's funny you mentioned that because the format seems to be changing. What we used to do is at the very end of the show, at the very end of the live stream, they'd put them in all the suggestions from the live chat. Each of the panel members got to suggest a book, and then they started taking suggestions from the live chat. We'd put them in a randomizer, and it would just pick a book. And I'm going to go over the list of stuff that we actually have read so far this year because my favorite all-time read is in one of these books. Now, last week, they did something a little bit different. You know, you're always trying to push engagement to your page, so they decided to do a poll. And they had a great response. They had over 56 votes. Unfortunately, what was chosen was something that I don't know if I'm going to enjoy, but I'm going to read it. It's Fairy Tale Land from
I Hate Fairyland.
I Hate Fairyland was chosen. Not, you know, that's the comic book community that went to the community page chose that. But that's going to be our next read. So Monday night, check us out. We're going to be doing a review on that book. And then there's always a topic. We've talked about cons, we've talked about movies, we've talked about all kinds of things. But that's not why we're here. We're here to talk about favorite reads. Now, you mentioned Donny Cates. Interesting. I've only been back in the comic book world basically for about a year and a half now, roughly. And one of the things that I first read when I came back in was Cosmic Ghost Rider. and Donny Cates got me hooked. That got me into the Venom run, where he was killing it. Immortal Hulk is on my. That was amazing. 1 through 10 of Immortal Hulk was like kind of like a game changer. Where it just, I love that run. But then when I got into Modern Men and the stuff on the randomizer started coming up, I read Kraven's Last Hunt. Has anybody read Kraven's Last Hunt? You know, like in a completely through. Now, Kraven's Last Hunt was the first book that I'd ever read digitally, panel by panel, meaning you know that we all do it. If you read a comic book and you flip the page, you cheat. You know you cheat. We all cheat. You kind of take a look at that last panel over there to see what's coming up, right? And as you're reading, you're prepping yourself because you want to be entertained. That's the whole point of it. But if you read a comic book online panel by panel, it's a completely different experience. Go read Kraven's Last Hunt panel by panel. Never having read it before, ever. It was fantastic. One of my all-time favorite storylines now. That's not the one I'm choosing, though. I just wanted to mention it because I want to mention some of the stuff we've read. And if anybody has read any of these titles, tell me what you think of some of these. We read The Daredevil Born Again by Miller. This was good. Not my pick. We just finished Oblivion Song. Blew me away. Loved it. That's not my pick. We did Watchmen this year.
Now I watched that video y'all did on Watchmen.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a while. It's been a long time since I actually went through that series again, and it made me want to grab my book and read it again.
You got to read it. I've never read anything quite like Watchmen, where you're reading the story of the kid who's sitting there and he's reading this comic book about the pirate, which is an amazingly fantastic story. And as you're reading that panel, the dialogue boxes are from the conversation that's happening above, which is also part of the story. And then it flips. It's just fantastically written, but that's not my top pick either. Oh my goodness. If you guys haven't read Southern Bastards, we just read that. Jason Aaron killed it. This was great. I've actually lent this out, got this back, and lent number 2 out. Paper Girls, Brian K. Vaughan. Awesome run. Read that during the show. And Black Hammer, I ended up going out getting all of the Black Hammer because it just blew me away, the character development in here and how much I actually cared for him, which was amazing. But my number 1 pick, the best thing that I think I've read yet, and it's a testament that the book 1 is not here, was Saga.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I haven't read Saga. I heard a lot of good
I
about
was blown away by this story from the first panel, from the first dialogue box, because I've got 2 girls. I've been in the room. I know what delivery is like. And if you go back and read the first panel of the first thing, a Saga, the first line out of her mouth, I knew exactly what she was doing. And the story goes from there. You're talking about a love story between Marco and why am I blanking on her name right now? Alana, and they're warring factions to a much larger, interstellar war between 2 other planets. These are just kind of secondary planets that are involved in this. This story was fantastic. Then you get to some of the character development from the Will, who is a bounty hunter, and his lying cat, who might be my favorite character, the freaking cat, who's fantastic. And I don't know about you, but I do the lying cat voice, right? I mean, to me, he's like the Cheshire Cat. Like, he's laughing when he says it, because the lying cat has the ability to tell if somebody's lying, and he says it, but I think he says it like sinisterly, like lying. That's my lying cat. Gwendolyn, the ex-fiance who's on the hunt. I mean, this whole story has just been amazing. Then you've got this Prince Robot character. By the way, this is I do need to segue that this is an adult book. And that's also something that got me from the first pages, because yes, I read Kraven's Last Hunt, but that wasn't an adult book. This was one of the first ones where, this is an adult book, bro. There's some graphic, crazy scenes in this book. And this is the best thing that I have ever read. Ta-da.
It's funny you brought that up, because I had that right here too. That's an amazing book. You know,
It's been phenomenal.
and it's funny
What
that,
volume am I on? Oh no, am I too low? Sorry.
but it's
I
funny
haven't
that
changed any settings.
I came back to comics after the first issue had came out, so I missed the hoopla on how hot this book was until
never read
yeah,
I just-
and
all
you
that
know,
stuff I've read in the last year. All that
and,
Man.
you know, when I finally got the trades, I was like, man, this is really good. You know, I like the whole Warren factions and two lovers from
and they have a
the
baby.
part of those loving factions. Yeah, and they have a baby, and that
Think
baby is
about
the
a baby.
hot topic.
This is done for
And the funny
narration.
thing,
This whole story is done for the
Yeah,
narration of the baby. You
the
know, with the
narration.
kid.
I was like, what the heck? That's awesome.
It's just fantastic the way it's written. If you've never read Saga, do. I've already lent out. Book one's not here because it's on. It's when you have a book that you just want to keep handing out over and over again to get that experience out there. You know it's good. What is up, my man? Mindshift.
What up, you guys? What's going
Going
on?
on, my shift.
Going
Not
up,
much.
Kurt.
What's up, Steve?
What's
Glenn, what's up? Oh no, Jeff bopped out. What's up, Sensei-san? What's up, JB?
How you doing, man? Nice to see you.
Pretty good. Just realized I left my coffee in the kitchen, so
Yeah, I got a question for you. I know you and I are relatively, close proximity.
yeah.
What are your grading skills like? I'm not very good at it. And you're not very good at it either.
I'm not good
I
at
gotta find
grading.
somebody local. Maybe I gotta hit up Reggie Collects or something. I need somebody who can help
Yeah.
me grade these Silver Age books. I got this whole short box full of Silver Age that I want to put on the pop up and help this friend of mine out because he wants to get rid of these. But I got to come up with buy it now prices. So I don't want to do it auction style. Those take too long. I'm not down with that.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of people in the community that are definitely way better at grading than I am. I look at it and like, that looks nice, and I want it. I usually go for lower grades anyway because they have a little history to them, not just the book itself, but where the book has come from, the people that's held it,
Yeah.
So
I appreciate you popping on, man. What's your top pick? What's your read? Who's next? Who's next in the rotation? You're
Probably Glenn's up, I think.
Glenn,
Glenn?
yeah.
I
Yeah.
know Glenn's got a
Glenn.
bunch of stuff.
Glenn. Show me what you got.
You see, and then
Am I
Going
up
around.
next?
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right. Well, it's kind of funny because just in the list that we just heard about, there were titles there that I was really into, like Saga. Again, that's a title I easily could have pulled and said, "Yup, that's part of mine too," but I didn't. But then there were titles there, and I realized we're talking about our favorite stories. There were other titles there that I was just like, "Yeah, I think I'm in the minority."
All right.
But we'll leave that discussion for another time. I'm going with stories here, at least initially, that are not going to be nearly as awe-inspiring or globe-spanning or epic in their scope, their importance in comic history. I'm going to go with some off-liers, and then I think I'll probably get into some stories where you're like, okay, yeah, totally know that. So I'm actually going to attempt to flip my video around. So hold on just a second, because I'm trying something here. And we'll actually, if it doesn't, I apologize profusely. It is not doing it. It is broken.
There it is.
Oh, no, there
So
it
there
is.
it is. There it is.
No, we can see it.
Okay.
Wow.
Bam.
So this is ROM 31, and it actually gets coupled with 32, and this is a storyline that takes place very shortly after Avengers Annual 10, and that, as many of us probably know, is the first appearance of Rogue, and this is basically her second appearance in comics. And it's a really cool story, just a two-parter, where it becomes kind of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants plus ROM versus this creature called Hybrid. And this was essentially my introduction to the ROM character and my introduction to Rogue. I fell in love with both characters. And this, to me, as a two-parter, it shows just how Paladin-esque Rom is, just how much of a goody-goody he is. But I love those characters. I where they just won't betray their values. They won't betray those that are relying on them to be saved and to be to be watched after, looked after, and taken care of. But also, it had some great art in it by Buscema and Sinnott, and I did get a chance, really not trying to flex, I promise, that I did get it signed because it's one of the stories I grew up with as far as Rom. But yeah, I would suggest anybody, especially pick up like the first 3 years worth of Rom. If you haven't already. It's a fan favorite, kind of a cult level, but I love the character so much, and I would totally recommend that people give this particular part the only key other than the first issue. Like, this is the only key in the series, if you want to call it that. But yeah, I just think it's a great representation of all of the characters involved, whether it's the Brotherhood characters, whether it's Rom. You really get a good idea of what they're all about, at least what they were about at that time.
Sweet.
Pretty cool.
I have not read that.
That's pretty cool. So far we've got
back around here eventually. I hope.
We've got Action Comics 775 one shot.
I don't know if I need to leave
story, one shot story. And then we did God Country, Saga, and now Rom 31 and 32. Pretty good. That's a recap so far.
Rom 32, Rom 31 and 32.
Rom 31, 32 for you, Saga for me, God Country for Steve, and Action Comics 775. A one-shot story.
One shot. That's cool. One shot. You could just pick that up and read that.
And you're good to go.
There you go. All right. Who's next?
Jeff, you want to go?
Boy, comments on the mind.
Who, me? Oh, all right.
Go ahead, man.
Let's see. Series. I just heard what you guys were talking about when I hopped on. And a series that really got me into really hardcore collecting. I was just grabbing books from dollar bins whenever I could, and I ran into this story right here, which is the first, the origin of the whole Weapon X.
Oh, nice.
And I have the whole run except for one issue. I forget which one it is, but I love this story, and it's like a little tease because you get maybe 5 or 6 pages of Weapon X stories. Well, a little bit more than that, and then you get little mini stories, which some of them are okay, but the covers are just amazing. Seeing them experiment on Logan. And then just seeing him just flip out after, the test goes wrong. But these covers are amazing. These full face covers. Look at that. So cool. And it's just a couple of issues of just him, losing control and literally hunting down every single person.
What was that first issue number?
I think it was 72. Yeah, 72.
So the story run goes over how many issues?
All the way up until 84, I believe. Let me see. All the way up until 84.
72 to 84 is the Weapon X storyline.
Yeah, it's so good.
Oh, very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, that's the last issue. But every one of these issues are really intense covers. So this is definitely my pick in terms of stories or that really got me into hardcore collecting. I can talk about another one, but I don't want to take up all the time. But just look at this, another great cover right here.
Yeah, that's cool.
These full face covers. Go ahead.
And I'm digging that. I'm gonna go get that run right there.
This is the one that I first saw that I was like, oh my gosh, I have to get this. I don't collect figurines, but I saw a figure of this Weapon X, and I'm like, oh, I would get that. Besides, I want to a Black Bolt, because Black Bolt's one of my favorite. Besides Ben, I already have a Ben Grimm toy, so. But yeah, so that's my pick. If you guys want to bounce off of me, and go to
That's a
Jeff.
nice one, though.
Yeah.
That's nice.
That series, like Wolverine, all that much, but that story is so good, and you feel so bad for Logan. It's just
Totally agree.
You're like that this guy went through, so you can appreciate that. Even though I'm not a fan, just because overexposure more than anything, but you can't do anything but just feel so bad for what he has gone through.
Yeah.
And the artwork very
Treat him like an animal.
absolutely crushes the story.
Yeah. He got what he deserved. He
Good choice.
got what he deserved. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, so next up is Jeff Comic 813. What's going on?
Mine is like Steve's. It's normally it's God Country that really got me really back into really hardcore collecting again. So, but something new I read that's in the same boat, it would be this from this week.
Nice. What is it?
I've been hearing good things about Stealth.
It's about if Falcon had if the superhero Falcon had Alzheimer's pretty much, and he doesn't know who he is, or he doesn't know who he is, and he's a superhero, but he has Alzheimer's. Like a Falcon, the character's almost like Falcon almost.
Nice.
So that's pretty interesting. So.
I brought up the mention of the Authority last time and how they were anti-heroes. But here I'm going to bring up Marvel's anti-hero and one of my favorite story arcs, and that's the Punisher, the Slavers. Mm-hmm. This was a 6-part story arc where Punisher encounter a prostitution ring. Yeah, Tim Bradstreet cover's awesome, and he sees all the women being treated in the worst way possible, and it comes drugs involved and everything like that. And Punisher gets involved, and you see the sickness that these people are doing, like very deplorable when it comes to, what they're doing to these women. And, this is that time where you really rooting for the Punisher to just kill all these scumbags because they deserve every piece of it. And, it's one of these stories that it hooks you on and you're on for the ride and you just want to see them people get their compliments, get what they deserve. And, Garth Ennis did a great job with this series in terms, better than what he did with Marvel Knights, and how his stories always have some type of personal stake involved, and what he did with this and a couple of ones that followed it was really, really good writing. It really made you, get behind this emotionless man who's go around and killing villains. But he's not killing villains just for fun. He's doing it because he knows how dangerous these people are. And he knows that, he don't like to see innocents get hurt. Unlike the, certain parts of the Superman story where Manchester Black and his crew were, killing anybody. Punisher at least have a moral code where innocents get hurt. He immediately wants to take out the people who's hurting the innocent. And that's why I loved about this story, because he finds these prostitutes in dire situations. No matter what they're doing, it's always a way where Punisher says, man, these people needs help. They definitely need to go out and stop with this. So, he takes upon himself to take out this whole drug prostitution ring. And I love the storyline. It's one of my favorites from the Garth Ennis Punisher match run.
Yeah, those covers were awesome, definitely.
So that was my next choice. Anybody else want to go?
I'm trying to pull something. I read something digitally. The first thing that we read, and I'm not sure if this was the writer, because I think it only went 1 through 6, but I think it was the writer before this. But this run of Moon Knight I was not introduced to that character, but it's the 1 through 6 of this run. I don't think it's this writer, and I was trying to look it up because we read it digitally. I had never been introduced to Moon Knight, a classic. That's Marvel's Batman knockoff, which maybe he is kind of, but he's so much more. He's so much more, and I thought that was a really great run. That first 6 issues of this run of Moon Knight, but I don't think this is the writer. Can anyone help me with that?
Jeff
It's
Lemire's
Warren
run, I
Ellis
think.
Was it Jeff
he's talking
Lemire?
about the Lemire. I think you're talking about the
Did he do
Lemire run.
First 6 of this run, this run.
The first
First
6 of
6.
that was, this says Warren Ellis, right?
Warren
No, this
Ellis.
is Brian Wood. So it is
Okay.
the Warren Ellis, right? Is that it?
Brian Wood took over after Ellis.
So it was that Warren Ellis run, that first 6. I read it digitally. I'm trying to pull up the app. I can't get so many apps on here. I can't find the freaking app, man.
Is that the
Come on.
Moon Knight with
Anybody else
the
phone
suit?
like this? Holy shit! I got like a bajillion apps, and when you need to find one, you can never find the freaking logo.
That's hilarious.
Am I the only one? What the
But I do know that Ellis started that
My
run. I think
library, here it is.
the first 5 issues, and then Brian Wood took
Red.
over.
Where's all the reds? See, it's not in there. So I took them out already. But yeah, that was a great run. It's still got the Craven's Last Hunt in there as the last run that's in there in the red. And that was a big difference, for me. Moon Knight. I love to tell this little story, the anecdote, and recently it just came up. I don't know if that's the right term, but the comparison between Batman and Moon Knight. Just in the last issue of Batman, I believe 89, there is a scene where he's chasing a guy on the motorcycle, and the guy on the motorcycle is shooting back at him, right? And Batman's doing his duck and dodge, and then he throws the Batamarang, and it hits the gun right out of his hand. That's Batman. Moon Knight, in that same situation, would have taken that arc circle thing that he throws and cut the dude's hand off, because that's Moon Knight. And you would have saw his hand flopping up in the air, because that's the difference between those two characters. Moon Knight is a very dark, I'm going to kill you, son bitches kind of character. And I thought it was fantastic. Plus, he's got split personalities. He's got kind of like cosmic powers given to him from whoever this Egyptian person was. So I thought that was a good run. I'm going to throw that on my list of good reads. Ups, downs. Anyone agree with me? Don't disagree with me?
I only read the Warren Ellis issues, which was good for me.
Yeah,
I
that's
enjoyed
all
that.
read was the Ellis issues. I like
that
the Ellis
first
issues a
6
lot, though.
issues. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I
what I
read-
got. The first 6 issues.
Yeah, I read the first issue, and
But I'm an
I
Ellis
loved it.
fan anyway. I'm a
Yeah.
long-time Ellis fan. So
I think that was my
That's
first
why
Yeah, I read the
exposure.
Lemire run.
I think that was my first exposure to him, actually, reading that run of Moon Knight. And that was the first thing I read on Modern Men. And I was like, wow, Moon Knight. I've been sleeping on this character. He was great. And in that first 6 books, each book has kind of a different theme. It was really well done.
Yeah, I love the artwork, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
It's the
If
same
you
team
like-
as Injection, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Because Deacon Shavy was the artist.
Here.
I don't know. That's what I remember. I remember Deacon Shavely and Ellis doing the first 5 issues, and then Brian Wood took over.
What is this? Is that 89? 90? I don't know what year this is. No, it's not that year. It's gotta be before.
So what you was saying, Glenn, before I interrupted? Sorry about that.
Oh, I was gonna say to JB, if you like Warren Ellis's kind of individualized writing on those first 6 issues of Moon Knight, if you haven't read
Mhm.
his short run that he did on Secret Avengers,
Ooh,
that's
No.
kind of the same way, where each issue is a single story, or
Yeah.
most of them are. So, it's so good.
So
That whole run
Secret
is
Avengers. Okay. I'm writing that down.
Yeah, Secret Avengers, and I don't know, do I have them sitting around here nearby that I can give you the issue numbers? Probably not. No. So, but yeah, if you just do a search for Warren Ellis Secret Avengers, he did maybe 10 issues, 12 issues, something like that. Had some great covers and some really cool storylines with some, and actually part of that Secret Avengers run
Here
has
it is.
Moon Knight in it.
Oh yeah, there's all that.
Was that the recent Secret Avengers? From like 5 years ago or 6 years ago?
It's this one.
Oh,
right
it
here.
was.
See, it already
probably
shows you
more than
red. That's the one. That's the book
Oh,
one.
let me put it on.
Can you guys see that on the phone?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I love those covers. Yeah, that's
That
the
was
one I
the book
have.
one. Yeah.
Yeah.
And these first 6 were just phenomenal.
Mm.
So I just read them all on the app. Definitely. So yeah, I'll look at that. Secret Avengers, Warren Ellis run. Very nice.
Marvel has the tendency to relaunch and start new books, so I forget which Secret Avengers run was it.
Like reboot.
I know Rick Remender did a short run, and Hickman also did a run on Secret Avengers.
They did, yeah. That's the one I'm familiar with.
Two Gun, Pedro.
So Secret Avengers, I just pulled them. Let's see here. Secret Avengers 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and 21. And as a matter of fact, if I just do this.
I love that cover.
So it's 16 through 21 is his run?
The best.
That's a nice
That's
cover.
totally cool, man. 16 through 21, you said?
Yeah, this is 16 through 21. And then this.
Oh, wow.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay. It's no longer near mint.
Kenny.
Yay.
Kennedy Ford.
The flipping books. Oh,
How
wow.
about my boy?
Oh, that's nice.
Every cover has been a banger for sure.
Since Shang-Chi splitting wigs.
And there's some Moon Knight right there.
Yeah, I love that snow cover.
All these covers are just stellar.
Yeah, I agree.
Very cool.
This one is like
That's
Nice.
nice.
with the bow though.
that's Steranko homage if I've ever seen one. And then this is the last one that he wrote.
Warren
Alright.
Ellis is known for coming in to do a short arc and then leave.
Are super
Put them out.
Warren Ellis is known for coming in and do a short arc and then leave. You know, he don't stick around when it comes to like Marvel and DC. Like he'll come in, do his one of maybe 2, and then he'll haul ass.
Drop the mic and I'm out.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, Puff, I was supposed to mention earlier that Donnie says hello. No, he just popped in the chat, but I was supposed to mention that earlier.
What's that
What
one?
do you got here?
Ooh, that's an homage to another cover.
Korvac.
Oh, the Korvac stuff.
Yeah. It's like an Avengers 180 something. I can't remember which issue it is.
This is starting from like issue 168 or 169.
Yeah, one of those two.
78,
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah.
I have that one. That's a great cover.
Here, it's right. If I just read the back, it's actually
That's hilarious.
It's there. I don't know if you can see it, but it says Thor Annual 6, the Avengers 167 and 168, and then 170 through 177.
Yeah, that makes sense.
This story is, for me, probably the best Avenger story that I've ever read, and number 2 on my list for the best comic book story I've read, period. And I liked it so much that I went and met Jim Shooter at a con a couple years back. Every issue in the original run, and he was charging for his signature, and I'm like, you know what? I normally don't like to pay, but I was like, no, this is important because this is what I grew up on with Avengers, and the last 2 issues of this storyline are some of the most action-packed, jaw-dropping moments, even to this day, that I have ever read in book. It's just, the cause threat here is just so ridiculous. It's arguably, I think, I don't like the Infinity Gauntlet. and I know that unpopular opinion, I would suggest this as an
Blasphemy.
storyline over Infinity Gauntlet any day of the week.
Wow. So what you said 169 through what?
This is 177.
Sorry, 167
Plus Thor
to
Annual
177. Plus Thor Annual 6.
Now, of course,
Blasphemy!
one other
Blasphemy.
I can't remember which one it was. What? I missed it. What did he show?
Oh, I recently got
Yes,
it.
this is blasphemy.
Oh, blasphemy!
Oh,
Firebast.
Look, I respect the story. I respect how important it is and how beloved it is, and I certainly respect George Perez's artwork on it. I'm not a fan of Ron Lim, so that kind of took the faded the rose for me. But I just thought I don't know. I just thought the story wasn't. It's not for me. But you know what? That's why they do more than one flavor of ice cream. So it's all good. It's all good.
True.
It's funny that I like Ron Lim's artwork. Specifically on Silver Surfer. I enjoyed his run on Silver Surfer, and I know a lot of people thought that his artwork on Silver Surfer was great. But it is what it is. People have different opinions and different styles and stuff like that. So it's all good, man.
Wolf
Yeah.
I liked Lim's artwork in earlier stuff, like some of the small press stuff he did. But I'm a small press guy.
Yeah.
Even though none of the stuff I've pulled to talk about today is small press, because the stuff that has impacted me so much has been stuff that I was reading back in the day. I read this stuff back in the late 70s or early 80s, so that's why it still resonates with me so much.
Yeah.
That's understandable. That's great. So who wants to go next between Mind
What
Shift
else we
and
got?
Jeff? 'Cause I
Mind
got a few
Shift.
books.
Okay, I have something. So in terms of like more modern day stories, because I was collecting a lot of like Bronze, Copper Age, Silver Age stuff, and then I started getting, I'm gonna dip my toes into like more modern day books. And a friend of mine shared this story with me. If anybody had seen this is a very iconic moment in Spider-Man history. The death of Peter Parker, quote unquote, the death of Peter Parker. This right here, because I love stories with a twist, and this is like the biggest twist. Doc Ock is one of my top 10 favorite super villains. So when I saw that he took over Peter Parker successfully and became Superior Spider-Man, I
Open up a Daredevil book.
Yeah, well, this is like, it's a trifecta of like the first appearance, that Spider-Man 698, that one, that Daredevil book, and then this one right here, Avenging Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm still working on those Amazing Spider-Man 600 all the way up to 700, because I want to read that story where Doc Ock is in that computer, that little robot form. I didn't get a chance to read it. And then it's, of course, first issue of the Superior Spider-Man. This was signed by Delgado. Can't really see it though. This is like one of my first signed books, somewhere around here. It's there. I know it's there.
Nice.
But I love that series. Watching him, a supervillain, try to learn how to be a hero and do the right thing, and leave that mindset of like, I have to do evil in order to get my way. It was an amazing story, and in the end, he ended up, spoiler alert if you haven't read it, he ended up giving it up, because he knew that Peter Parker was the true Spider-Man. So, and then it leads into the Spider-Verse, and I love that series too, even though I still need that first appearance of Stacey Gwen as Spider-Gwen. So that's my pick, my second pick.
Man, Superior Spider-Man. I remember when issue 700 came and all the controversy. People like, what they doing to Spider-Man and stuff. I'm jumping off of Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I was indifferent to it. You know, I just want to see where it goes because I like Doc Ock, and him taking over Peter's body was intriguing to me. You know, I was like, Dr. Octopus finally, you know, conquered Peter Parker by taking over his body and his mind. And just what followed after that was some of the best storytelling I've read in terms of, you know, Doc, you know, as Peter feeling superior. And the funny thing was, you know, he realized Peter ain't got his degree. And he like, what? How do you do this and not have your degree? So he went back to school, got his degree, and started up Parker Industries. Because you know, Doc always had that superior complex about him that, you know, he had to be better than Peter in everything.
Dude.
But, you know, except for towards the end where he realized that he can't be good at being the superhero that Peter is, you know, and that's where he, you know, kind of gave it up back to Peter. But that whole run was amazing. You know, it was so good. I enjoyed it.
There was like a lot of like, oh my goodness moments where when he punched Black Cat and knocked her teeth out. Like, oh my gosh, like that's not Peter. But I liked the story. I liked what part was one of my favorites when Superior Spider-Man was teaming up with Spider-Man 2099 Miguel. Like that whole arc was really good. And then the one with all the Green Goblins, like the Goblin War, that was a really good one. Yeah, the whole run is it's definitely one of my favorites.
That Spider-Man run stayed Spider-Man for me because I could not stand Brand New Day. I was so mad at Marvel for what they did with Straczynski and what they did with that whole storyline that I was like, no, I can't do this. I'm not going to read this anymore. And I loved Straczynski's storyline up until the very end. And I know there was editorial and Quesada was involved and blah, blah, blah. But when I heard about this happening, those last 3 issues, I said, I'm going to pick them up. I want to see what happens. And I was so engrossed because I didn't see. I said, this isn't good. They're not going to let this happen. They're not going to let this happen. Yeah. And then at the end of the issue, I'm like, oh, holy hell, they actually let this happen. What is going to happen now? And it was like, man, I was in. I was 100% sold on it. And then when it rolled into between Superior and then it rolled in, I was like, wow, this is Spider-Man is like back for me. So yeah, it was a great run.
You know, you mentioned One More Day. If we would have did favorite and worst, One More Day will be up there as my worst.
Oh yeah,
because I remember that I bought all those.
It's such hot garbage. I
bought all those damn brand new Day Spider-Man books because at the time I was such a blind loyalist to Spider-Man that I bought them, but I never read them. I think I told you this when I ranted about that a few years ago. It's like One More Day dissatisfied me so much that I didn't even bother reading all the issues of Brand New Day. It took me years later before I finally decided, let me just give them a read just to see what they're about. But I was like, and it's one of the factors why I just took a hiatus from comics. You know, after a while, I just said, man, you know, let me just put the comic to the side and just get out of it. Because a lot of things that was happening during that time, and I just didn't feel like putting my money into buying comics. So I just took a couple of years hiatus from comics. And that was one of it, was that damn One More Day.
It was rough.
Yeah.
It was rough.
Definitely. Mephisto got his wish, though. He got his way. So.
I got one. Yeah. No one else does.
Go for it. You want to go?
Yeah, I got one. I got one.
Jeff.
Identity Crisis.
No. Yeah, I heard about that one.
Interesting.
Yep. Identity Crisis is one of the ones that got me back into superhero comics. So.
That's Identity Crisis?
Yep.
That's a rough story, man. That is a
Yeah, it
rough
is.
one.
But this is what got me back into superheroes,
There you go.
comics in generals. So
That's a nice one.
Yeah. And
But that's Rag Morales did some of the artwork or all the artwork in that, right? Because this artwork I think was really really good in that.
right. Yeah, he did most of the work in it. Yep.
Yeah, that's.
And Brad
I remember
Meltzer.
reading that and going, "Am I actually? Is this really another one? Where is this really happening? Is this actually how this is going to go?" And
Is it
it did, and I was like, "Holy!"
Is that the one where they made
Wow.
Wally West like basically a psychopath or something like that?
No,
no,
you got to read it. You have to read it.
Gotcha.
They kill a bunch of people off in that, and in really heavy
Yeah.
ways. It's not just like they pass in their
Yeah.
sleep. It's rough.
Hmm.
It is rough.
Yeah. Like
It's not
all
ultimatum,
superhero
bro.
comics
It's
are like,
say
Guys,
that again. though?
gentlemen, I'm sorry, but these kids right here are starting to go. So I've lost my window of opportunity here as things are starting to heat up out there. I'm gonna have to jump off. I am so sorry. I will see you in the chat after I go regulate some of this action. Gentlemen,
Great having you on. man.
Go into dad mode. Dad
oh boy, we're about to get busy. I said relax. Excuse me.
Oh, here we go. Oh, Heroes in Crisis. Thank you, Chaos. I appreciate it. Yeah, okay.
yeah,
That's
that was Heroes in Crisis you were talking about.
You
But
can
this
tell I'm
Identity Identity Crisis, you got to prepare yourself to read it if you're gonna read it. Just being, yeah.
Yeah, mind. I'll tell you right now. Make sure that you're in a good headspace, and I mean
Yeah.
that in all sincerity.
Yeah.
Make sure that you're good
Me
in
too.
a good headspace because it is
Yeah.
very heavy. It is a very
like
heavy.
mental health heavy, right?
Yeah, it's gonna mess you up if you're not.
Gotcha. Okay, well, I'll definitely try to pick up the trade and just dive into it when I'm in a definitely good headspace and I'm just I'm meditated for like 20 minutes.
So you want to go, Glenn? Or
Yep.
oh,
Yeah. Let's go with something that is a little more current because everything I've been, well, other than Secret Avengers, but how about this X-Men Legacy run by Cy Spurrier featuring Xavier's son and just, I know, it's an amazing documentation of mental illness and just how he handles it because he is so unique. This whole run, and I am not a mutant fan either, but I read this and I was completely just enthralled by the character and how they depicted him. And there were more than a couple moments in this series where I actually got misty-eyed because, again, this is another character that he really makes you feel for when he's stressed. It's really, really well done. And if people haven't read it, I would definitely suggest reading it because it's just a well-written book. The art is fun, but the writing is just very human, and which is ironic seeing it's a mutant book. But it very much you feel for the characters and you feel good because there's somewhat of a happy ending for this storyline, and it's definitely worth reading through it to get to it.
I'm gonna have to revisit that because I got like the first 12 issues. For some reason, I couldn't really get into it as much as I wanted to. You know, maybe because I'm not big on Legion is probably why I tried to give it a shot, but it didn't really just gravitate to me. So
right,
it would probably be something that I have to really like sit down and focus on reading it and see if I can get the story. Because I understand Legion has the mental health thing and the multiple personalities, the multiple characters involved, you know, which is intriguing. But for some reason, I just I just couldn't really get it because I wasn't like that enthralled with Legion. Even when he was part of X-Men Legacy, you know, through some of Mike Carey's run.
Yeah, I was a huge.
See, and I
go ahead, Glenn.
no, please go.
No, I was gonna say I was a huge New Mutants fan, so that's why I'm like a fan of like Legion, because I love that run up leading up to him, you know, his first appearance, and then you know Bill Sienkiewicz, like his artwork is just, you know. So that's all I wanted
Absolutely.
to say.
Yeah, no, it's and I didn't know a lot about the character going into the series. I knew of him and knew kind of what he was about. Hadn't really read too much with him in it, other than ages ago read those New Mutant stories, which I've kind of since forgotten. I should go back and revisit them, especially with the new movie coming out.
Yeah.
But this story right here, I wouldn't say it's a dense read, but you definitely have to be paying attention, and a lot of the story is told through the art, not just the actual script.
Yeah, I agree with
it's so much of it is visual because it's inside his mind and it's what is going on and what he sees and what he experiences. Yeah, I think if you sat down and took a little time with it, I think and just put aside any like preconceptions you might have and just enjoy it for what it is. And because I think that the ending of the whole story is very satisfying. I really enjoyed it.
I kind of agree with Sleepy Reader 666. You know, sometimes the art kind of like wavered on me, and you know, it was something that kind of took me out occasionally. You know, but I definitely will give it another read. You know, try and read, because I got like the first 12 issues, so that should be a binge read if I can. You know, once I get past the first couple of issues and it starts to gravitate to me, you know, I'll get through those 12 issues and then see if I'll pick up the rest. But
yeah, and I think if you gave it another shot, I think you'll like it enough to pick it up. And it's definitely a book that you can find if you're looking. You can find it in cheap bins. But yeah, it's worth it. I definitely think it's worth it.
And what Chaos and Comics mentioned, that's the Legion Quest storyline was the only one that I remember actually reading a lot because of how that whole scenario went, you know, with him waking up from that coma and going after the X-Men and stuff, and it led to the Age of Apocalypse. That was actually, when I read that years later, I was like, man, that was really good.
I didn't read that run.
That was the run before the original Age of Apocalypse. Like It was a 4-issue story arc, you know, that went through Uncanny and X-Men.
Huh. Oh,
and it's like a prelude to the Age of Apocalypse. So if you ever get the Age of Apocalypse,
that's the Legion Quest books, right?
Yeah, the Legion Quest.
Yeah, I've not read those, but I've seen them so many times in stores because, you know, a lot of people will say, read this because it leads up to Age of Apocalypse, but I've not read either of those. So
yeah, Age of Apocalypse was a great run. And I remember when that first started, I was like, hell no, I'm not. I see all these changes and stuff. I'm like, what are y'all doing to my X-Men? Wolverine with one hand, Cyclops with one eye. I was like, the hell? I'm not trying this. I just waited until the end, and then they went back to the original X-Men looks. I was like, all right, I'm back. But after that, but when I read it years later, I see why people say how it's so good, because it's one contained story arc, and you have to read it in an omnibus. I'm not trying to go out and buy all the individual issues. That's just way too much. But the omnibus gave you all the info you need, and it's a straight through story that you see all the plot points connect, and it was so good.
All of those books are now actually in the house here because I've combined collections with my girlfriend, so she has the entire thing. She bought all of the Age Apocalypse and everything that ties into it. So it's now here that I can read it, and I really need to just bite the bullet and say, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and because I know it's an incredibly well respected and very popular run and kind of X-Men history, especially for the 90s. So I need to read it just so I'm educated on it. But yeah, it's not something that I've tracked before.
And I'm gonna talk about an event that was big in the late 90s for Batman. And that is, I'll start with the cataclysm, the earthquake that rocked Gotham, and all this led to all this, the No Man's Land.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Oh wow! Wow!
But
That is
isn't No Man's Land where they introduced the Cassandra Cain Batgirl?
yes, that's where Cassandra Crane was
There you
introduced.
go.
And the thing about No Man's
I love
Land,
her.
is that it has so many great stories within the whole run that you had the Huntress and what she was going through, dealing with the plight of Gotham. You had Dr. Leslie Thompson, trying to deal with the people who were sick and in need. You had the villains had their own sections of Gotham that they ran. Got Batman trying to maintain order. And then you got Commissioner Gordon and Renee Montoya and all Gotham PD just trying to survive the aftermath of this earthquake in the decimated city. They know that it's such a hard thing to do when the city is decimated and you got nothing but freaks and weirdos and villains running around it, and even Batman can't keep an eye on everything. And you had such great writers like Varangian didn't bring up Chuck Dixon. I would go even further and say that I enjoyed the Greg Rucka stories a lot more than I did the Chuck Dixon ones. And Greg Rucka written some great stories within these books. From the storyline with Shell Shock with Two-Face, Gordon, and Renee Montoya, where Two-Face had them on trial, trying to set them up against each other, but they end up backfiring on him because that whole Harvey Dent and Two-Face, dilemma of who's right and who's wrong, and it ended up, there's a page in here, I think in this one, I gotta show it because it's just amazing part. But where Two-Face is, giving them trial, and they end up. Let me get the page. Yeah, here it is. He ends up questioning all of them, and I like how they do it in this format. You see Renee Montoya on the side, and these are all the dialogue that he's asking her the questions, and she's giving the answers. And then he does it to Gordon as well. But then they flip the script on him, and they challenge his notion on what he has to do as a lawyer, as a defense attorney, and he ends up questioning his own self. Harvey Dent questioning Two-Face. And it was so good that, you see him sobbing and stuff because he realized that, Two-Face is the one that's guilty, and he's conflicted about it. So I love that story arc. It was just such a great read. And then you had the whole thing at the end, with Joker when he gets involved, and what happened to Commissioner Gordon's girlfriend at the time, Sarah. That was such a heart-breaking ending. And that you talk about a villain that does something so hideous that you want him to get his, and Gordon was put in a precarious situation where, do I take out the Joker? And Batman said, I'm not going to stop you. It was such a good read. I was like, you felt the emotional weight that the whole city was going through with all the chaos that's happening, with all the wreckage. You had people like Bane getting involved from outside, and Lex Luthor, he came in and got involved. There was so many elements to this story that, little pop points that become bigger towards as it goes on. And it was just such a great read. I was so glad because when this came out, I was like, man, a year-long event through all the Bat titles? Nah. I don't even buy all the Bat books. But that's why it's always good to get it in this format so you can just read it all. And trust me, when I read that first book, I could not stop. Like each day, I just kept reading and reading and reading until I get to the last volume. And it was just some great stuff. One of my favorite events of all time,
I'm definitely gonna have to check that out.
It's not one that I'm familiar with. other than the Batgirl introduction, but just showing what showed as far as Two-Face. I think that's actually a really brilliant way to show that conflict of the two sides of him. And the page that's on the right where he's just kind of sitting like this, like he's in his head, and you can tell that he's just like, I'm trying to figure out what's going to happen here, and he's just sitting there silently. It's like, wow, it was just, visually it tells a lot of the story without having to read all that text on the other side. So I think that was pretty sharp, and it'd be something that if I found it out in the wild, I'd probably pick it up and check it out.
Yeah, because it really expands on that character and shows the conflict. Like, you see Two-Face, he's an automatic villain, but you forget that he still has human qualities about him. Harvey Dent is still inside there, but he's always conflicted because of that big bad Harvey personality that always come out there, flip the coin and say, bad side, you're gonna die and stuff. But when he's put in that situation, you really feel for him because he's been through so much in his life, getting his face scarred and having this happen to him, and what happens in Long Halloween, that it brings him back down to being a human, as opposed to just being this super bad guy. It brings him back down because he has the human quality about him that he's just as much of a victim as he is as a villain.
Totally agree.
You got Boat Right in the chat. What's up?
What's up, Boat Right?
Comments for Tomics. So, Monisha, if you have another book.
Oh yeah. So I'm not a huge fan of like trade books, but I'm trying to get in the habit as I try to consolidate my collection. I'm trying to get in the habit of just buying trades. And this is like one of the first trades I ever bought. Like, everybody was telling me you should read Hickman. Read Hickman. Hickman's a really great writer. So, Hickman has a lot of, with the Incursion building up to, this whole Infinity run. So I grabbed this, and this is I grabbed this right when around the time like Infinity War came out, because I was still like a new booty collector in terms of like reading modern day books. And I read this and I instantly fell in love with it. And Black Bolt, one of my favorite moments in this is the battle with Black Bolt and Thanos. And hold on if I can find. Actually, besides that one, this is one of my favorite moments of this run. That whole T'Challa and Namor standoff, like this right here, two kings coming together. It's just like, I don't think you guys can't win, right? And of course, T'Challa's like, the queen's not gonna let anything happen. And then, of course, Namor comes in and floods the whole place, and it's all bad. So that's like one of my favorite moments. But this whole run leading up to the actual Incursion is just phenomenal, and the artwork is definitely great. So this is definitely one of my picks. And look, it's a Thanos cover. You can't hate that. So that's mine. One of my great reads. Did you guys read this or read this run?
Yeah, I got the whole series and singles.
I'm working.
Plus, I have the Avengers Omnibus, which it works better with the Avengers Omnibus, because one thing about Hickman, he writes for the Omnibus. Yeah. He don't even write for the trade. He writes for the Omnibus because his stories are so dense and so heavy-handed that you have to read it in huge chunks, or just take a break, come back the next day and finish, read another chunk.
Yeah.
You bring up his Infinity Run, and I have East of West, and this is a Hickman book. And I gotta do a show one day with Hialeah, because we want to talk about this book. Talk about a book that's dense but so good. It's very political, and it's in terms of the situation they're in. Dealing with the message, and it has a lot of intriguing characters. Like here's some interior art, You know, it's like there's the panel of all the people within the world, because the world is divided into like federations, and you know, you got this Colonel Sanders looking dude here. He's the slickest of the slick. He's the slickest of the slick, man. He knows how to manipulate and get himself out of certain situations while also planning ahead. You know, and it's just, you got the 4 horsemen of apocalypse in here. I'm trying to get a good picture of them. Like, here's some of them. And when I read the first issue as a dollar issue, I didn't think I would get too into it. But no, I was intrigued that I got the first trade. And when I finished the first trade, I was like, I need more, because, you know, it's old school Western. You know, here's the apocalypse coming into the bar. And, you know, the fact that it's sci-fi, it's in the post-apocalyptic era, it's a Western, and it's very intriguing, you know, and you got certain situations where you're like, oh, I'm interested in his, and here's Death looking all badass. And, you know, this is a book that definitely needs to be revisited, because there's a lot of storytelling involved where when you get past a couple of issues, you'd be like, oh, shit, you know, I remember there's something, but I forgot. I got to, you know, flip back a couple of pages, you know, especially when it comes to the message. And then look at this nice piece of violence here. She got metal hands, so she just squashes her sister's head like that, man.
Oh my gosh. Like squish.
All right.
So that whole scenario with her and her family is just crazy. And it's definitely something that I will recommend to anybody who wants to see great storytelling with sci-fi action, the 4 horsemen of apocalypse. It's a great book. And hopefully me and Hilaire can get together and do a show talking about this book, because we've been planning that for a while.
That would be awesome. I definitely want to read it. I've heard a lot of people talk about it. A lot of people told me they'll read it. You know, if you want to read outside of like a Marvel book, that's, you know, that's Hickman goodness. So I definitely am gonna have to check that out for sure.
And Sleepy Reader
I'm
said,
sure Engbald has been reading that on IG. Engbald.
Yeah.
I mean,
Sleepy Reader says, let me go. But he said, I'm still waiting on last part of East of West, and I am too. The funny thing about East of West is I remember Sleepy Reader used to do a show on Saturday with our fellow thoughts, Travis, on their comic book show. And Travis would talk about the book a lot. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to pick it up, because I remember seeing Travis review the book, and I wanted to give it a shot. And that's how I got into the book, because of our fellow thoughts and him and Sleepy Reader on their show. So,
Gotcha. What's up, Matt?
what's going on, Matt?
Yeah, I definitely gotta read it. I've seen like the small trades, like the volume 1s and 2. I might just grab one of those and dive in. But that omnibus looked pretty good.
Yeah, that's what I try and do with like certain image books. I'll get the ones in singles if I want to read them monthly, because there's no problem. Then they got the trades, but like books like East of West, I get them in the deluxe because they look good, they present well, and plus it's better to read it. And I agree with C. Woodard. You know, I mean, Hickman stuff is better as a binge read, because I couldn't read his stuff in singles. Like it's hard to read Hickman stuff in singles when he's such a dense writer, and you got to know the story like constantly. Like if you try and read it monthly and they take the breaks like East of West does, you're gonna forget certain things, you know, and you're gonna be digging out the books and like, oh man, I forgot this. I remember it happened in this issue and stuff like that. Whereas if you read it in the deluxe, it moves smoothly. You can always just slide back for a few pages, but other than that, you know, you can binge read it.
Yeah, I might have to do that because I might have to get that omnibus that you were talking about, because I also want to read his Fantastic Four, and that's a lot, you know. And I'm not sure if they have it in a trade or if they have it in like an omnibus form, but I would definitely love to read like his, his Fantastic Four. I started reading some of his, the Future Foundation? That was pretty good. Like the old stuff, not the new stuff.
The FF book.
Yeah.
And that was when he was doing that whole run of Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
I have a couple of issues of it. But yeah, the omnibus would be perfect for that because a lot of his stuff that he did in Fantastic Four bled over to his Avengers run, which led to the Secret Wars. So it's almost necessary that if you really want the full scope of the story, start with Fantastic Four and probably even his I think he did Secret Avengers too, if I'm not mistaken.
He did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like all that stuff kind of bleeds over into each other.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons that I actually find him a little bit too inaccessible, because he is in it for the long game. And it's a longer game than I think I've ever seen any comic writer go in for. He's not plotting for like a Chris Claremont, I'll plant some seeds here and there and then we'll settle up next year. He's plotting stuff saying, okay, so in 2023, this is what I want to see happen. And I'm like, how are you making this work? But it clearly works because there are a lot of fans out there that really dig what he is doing. But you do have to know a lot of what his backstory has been. And you're right, so much of it started with Fantastic Four that he is still pulling threads and bringing those things forward. I like my Fantastic Four a little lighter. I liked my Mark Waid run, even the James Robinson run before they shut the series down for a few years. I really liked that. But the Hickman run was just really, really tough for me to get into. But I've had this discussion with Engbald so many times.
He's the one that's open to read.
I'm gonna let it go. I'm gonna let it go because that's why they make more than one flavor, and that's not my FF.
Yeah,
it's not my FF.
But it's always good to hear the other side of the coin of the collector. You know, someone that's read it that likes it, and someone that read it it's not for them. You know, you want to hear both sides of the story to be able to appreciate the story a little bit more. You know, or go in open-mindedly reading it. You know,
right. Another writer. Oh no! Go ahead, Sean.
I started with the Fantastic Four around, with John Byrne. Those are the earlier comics that I had, the Fantastic Four, and I brought some here or there. But when it came to Hickman's Fantastic Four, what little I read of it, there were some intriguing plots in it. But like you said, it wasn't like the Fantastic Four we knew of, reading in the past. So it was a bit more, it was like sci-fi, hardcore sci-fi is what I look at it as. It was just sci-fi ramped up to the 1000th level.
This just makes me want to read it even more. Because I grew up watching
it. It is next level stuff. It is smart. It is deep, and there's a lot of things happening. And don't get me wrong, it's a gorgeous book because when Steve Epting, I think he was the first artist when Hickman started writing it. Those books are gorgeous. Just objectively, I think they are really, really well done visually. Epting's a great storyteller, but it just didn't feel right. It didn't feel like, quote, my Fantastic Four. And but again, I can go back and read my Byrne run because I love the Byrne run. I can go back and read the Waid run. And there's other eras that I enjoy, the James Robinson run, and even the beginning of this current run I liked. So, it's cool, but the Hickman stuff just did not hit the button for me. But we were talking about writers that can get dent, and Saga got mentioned earlier. Brian K. Vaughan, for me, depending on what he's writing, can get it's hard to read it month to month. And that's why I pulled this out of box.
Oh, nice.
This is the last.
I love that
issue.
run too.
Why the Last
Listen.
Man? If you have not read this or don't know anything about it, please try the
Yeah.
first trade and try
I've
it
never
out.
heard of it before.
The story, absolutely wonderful. The artwork is very clean, very simple, and I don't mean simple in a bad way at all. I mean it's just very clean and easy to understand what's happening.
Yep.
But talk about character development and caring about what happens. It is definitely one of my favorite full series, because this ran 60 issues. One of my favorite full series front to back that I've ever read. It's definitely on par with Saga as far as just how good it is and how much I respect it.
I love Why the Last Man. Like, when I first read that in trade, I was like, man, this is just top tier storytelling, top tier writing. The artwork was fantastic. I love Guerra's artwork, and it had some great characters in there. Without spoiling it, what's your opinion on that last issue? Because I know the last issue was like debated on numerous times in terms of how it ended. Just what's your opinion on it? Did you like
cut
it?
out
Did you
there
not?
a little bit, but you just asking me about what my opinion was on how it ended?
Yeah, like what? Because I see Chaos and Comments for Why the Last Man is great, but I didn't finish it. So what else? What was your thoughts on just how it ended? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Or was it fine with you?
No, I liked it. I thought it was the appropriate way to handle it. I mean, it's a when you start reading the book, if you do any sort of thinking ahead, you realize there's got to be some sort of ending, right? It's not, these people aren't going to go on forever. The world goes forward. So it's like, how do you up their stories? Because the last few issues hit hard.
Yeah.
Hit really hard. And no, I did not have a problem with it. The way that the way things kind of wrap up with, and I'll just say the whole straitjacket thing. I just thought that it was really clever and very appropriate for the character. And I was really pleased. I didn't have any problems with the way that the story wrapped up. I thought it was right. I loved it.
I just liked it. It was such a different type of ending that you would think it will go to, that when you read it and then you reread it, you start to feel like, man, that's a good ending. Like, I liked it. It was so different, but yet it felt like it was necessary for me. Like, that ending was a necessary ending. And
it's a series that could have gone much, much darker, and there were definitely dark moments in it, clearly, but it could have ended in such a very dark way, but he didn't. And I was like, you know what, I respect this. I think he kind of, he put the last touches, last punctuation mark on it, and it's like, okay, we're good, and this is what happens, and it's gonna be okay. So I dug it, front to back, and this is a series I actually want to go back and read again. I
know.
This is one of those series that if you read it month to month, like you said, it's like, man, there are so many things going on across the world. It's like, okay, we kind of pull it back together again, and I think it's much better read in chunks. So that way it's easier to kind of retain it and connect the dots.
I know. See what they said. Ampersand's final scene was such a tearjerker, and that was. Between that and Agent 355, I was like, man, they punched me in the gut.
Don't get me started.
They punched me in the gut, man. Oh man.
Sounds like I have to read this now.
You got to read it. You got to read it. Like, it is so good, man. I love that book.
Anyone who has not read it, it's obviously not your typical superhero book. It is just, I wouldn't even call it sci-fi so much. It's just really just like a what if sort of scenario. But within the first two issues, you're like,
Is it
the
in
whole
trade?
place is going to hell. What can possibly happen?
Say, what do you say?
I was just saying they have it in trade because we have like out here in the Bay Area we have.
Yeah, oh yeah,
Oh sweet, because we have a half price bookstore.
yeah.
out here,
It's,
and I'll
I
definitely.
didn't
buy
start.
it for it.
I didn't pick it up. If I have time to tell a quick story,
Go ahead.
I mean, I know we're just gabbing here, but I met Jose Marzan Jr. at a MegaCon several years ago when Y was still being published, and he was selling copies of the first trade. And I had brought some Doctor Strange books that he inked to get signed, and he's like, "Oh yeah," and I'm working on this now, and I was like, "Oh cool," and he was such a lovely guy to talk to, super nice, and so I bought the first trade from him, and he signed it for me, and I got it home, read it cover to cover. I'm like, holy crap! I gotta figure it. He's like, it just started, so I was able to find issue 6. So I had the trade, and then I picked up, and now I have all the monthlies from 6 forward. The first couple issues are a little more expensive, so I haven't gone back to buy them, but I bought it and read it every single month, religiously. Every time he was at a show, I brought all of the books that had come out since the last show and had him sign all of them. And I'm like, okay, this is your fault that I'm addicted to this book, Jose, because it is just so freaking good. I bought art from the book. I got a sketch from him of a character from the series, because he's like, well, I could do Doctor Strange. I'm like, no. Give me somebody from Y. I want somebody from Y. So I'll actually be posting that on IG probably tomorrow.
Sweet.
So keep an eye out for that.
Show up Sunday.
Yeah. Sketchpad Sunday. So
Oh, there we go.
It's gonna Sketchpad Sunday is gonna be, and I'm just gonna share all the sketches that I've collected over the years from people.
Sweet.
So yeah, this is his fault that I like this so much, and yeah, I'm a convert, and I'll tell anybody to read it.
Yeah, because I when I got into it, it was when they was putting out the thick trades, and I always heard about Y the Last Man, but I never really went out to actively get it, But I knew I wanted to read it. So when I got them, I bought the first trade, the first thick trade with the first 3 arcs. I read it. I went straight to in-stock trades and ordered the next 4 trades. Wow. I got them all. I was like, and when your book is good, when you can go out and get all the rest of the trades, all of them in one purchase.
Yeah.
It's good. And I was like, boy, I wish I could have gotten into this when it was actually coming out month to month. Just because at that time I was such a Marvel boy that most of the time I'm buying Marvel and DC, but I kind of just barely brought independence. But then when I got back in the comics, I just said, fuck it, I'm getting independent books because Marvel ain't doing nothing to really impress me. DC, I was slowly getting back into, but I was like, I'm just gonna jump on the independents.
Yeah.
And, Y the Last Man was one of those books that I wish I could have gotten on when it was coming out.
Sounds like a really great story. I definitely am gonna have to hunt the trade down.
Do you know the premise of it, mine?
No, I don't.
I don't know if you want to know. If you want to know, I can. We
well,
can tell you just.
The title alone kind of gives it away.
Yeah, of course. That's what I inferred from it. Someone's the last man on Earth, and why, and the story is pretty much building up to why he is the last person on the planet.
I like
right?
the title actually means 3 different things, which is what I think is so clever.
I gotta read between the lines of the lines then.
Well, you got to read between the chromosomes.
Yep.
Woo, there we go.
So you got the Y chromosome. You got why is he the last man, and his first name starts with a Y. Yep. So it's just okay, all right. I see what you're doing there. That's pretty cheeky. The story is so smart and so good.
That's cool.
So good.
All right, peace out, Peggy.
Later, Biggie.
About to take a nap. Okay, speaking of indie, this first one I'm going to show is this show's not for kids, right?
No.
All right, for sure. Okay, so this is speaking of indie. This book got me into like the indie scene. I know JB brought it up earlier, but I hate Fairyland. I love Gertch. She's awesome. The whole story, the whole premise, like I love it. Like, a little girl gets trapped in this fairyland, and now she's like a 40-year-old woman trapped in a child's body, and it's basically her trying to figure out how the hell to get out of here. And I love it. Seeing I was able to see Scotty Young outside of like the whole Marvel world. It was really cool. And so I'm definitely trying to work on finishing the series, but every issue was always action packed. And so this cover is like one of my favorites. Like, oh, KO!
Oh my lord!
Lord, fatality. So all these are so good. Like, surprise. But if anybody has not read this series, this is definitely like a series that I suggest. Oh, don't fall. Yeah. So as you can see, I only have up to I have 13 somewhere around here, but I still need issue number 12 so I can finish reading the series. So I'm definitely a slow collector. It's so good I even bought it from my roommate in trade. So I can technically read it. It's in his room. But I want to read it when I actually have the single issue. So that's definitely one I suggest that people should read, and it's a great story. And the artwork, come on, the artwork is awesome.
It's a boy, man.
Because I'm a Scotty Young fan.
Yep. One book I'm going to bring up last is, probably a book everybody knows of. What's up, Big Will?
Big Willie Style, what's up?
Well, the book everybody brought up in the past, Death of Superman.
Yeah, there we go.
Yep.
This was just such a good read. Just the threat of Doomsday coming, him actually defeating and killing Superman was something that shook the industry back when it first came out. Everybody was going crazy over it. People was just buying up multiple copies thinking that they could put their kids through college because Doomsday killed Superman. I just want me being the damn kid, I just want to read the damn book. I ain't give a damn about, somebody gave me the side eye because I opened the plastic. I'm like, bro, I ain't interested in what you trying to do with it. I just want to read it.
Dude, why are you opening it?
But, this book, it was such a good series, good run, and seeing Superman actually getting beat down was kind of frightening as a kid because I'm like, man, this guy is unstoppable, and when Superman's fighting him and his punches ain't doing pretty much nothing, and I'm like, this ain't gonna be good, if this guy's really gonna kill Superman, he's doing a damn fine job and really putting the hurting on Supes. And that Superman 75 was nothing but splash. And this page always got me. This page fucked me up as a kid. I'm like,
oh yeah, yeah. I never read that. I definitely want to read that.
I was like, what the? He just mashed fucking Supergirl's face, turned it into putty. I was like, what the hell?
Yeah.
I was like, yo, this dude is powerful, man. He's squashing faces and all. But I was like, I found that was not actually Supergirl, but the last issue was just nothing but splash pages, man. And they two guys just throwing down. It's like a street fight, a ballroom brawl, just without the bar. And they were just going at it, and you get to the last couple pages and you really see that Superman is just taking a beating. And I was like, man, the artwork was phenomenal. And you just like, damn. Superman really gonna die. And while this book, it don't show the extent of the fold out page, you get the iconic moment of Lois holding Superman, and then she let go Superman. Superman's just dead. And it was such a surreal ending to a run that basically killed off Superman. Of course, we all know he ended up coming back a year later.
Mhm.
But for them to do this, to kill Superman, it was such a time changing moment, because Superman's powerful. Like, he's faster than the locomotive. Bullets can't harm him and stuff. Like, he can't be beat. And then they come up with Doomsday, and Doomsday just beat the hell out of each other and kill Superman. Even though Doomsday ended up dying too, but he ended up coming back as well. But oh man, Death of Superman was such a good read, and I did like the Reign of Superman stuff that led to Superman's return. So all that was fantastic stuff.
Yeah, and I was just gonna mention that too, because like that's one of I haven't read a lot of DC, but like that's a collection I'm still working on, the Reign of Superman, because when I read that, I fell in love with that that series. And I didn't even read like the the Justice League stuff when Doomsday first came out and started just kicking butt. I read all of like the that book that led up to his death. When I first started collecting, because like you said, when the crash happened, there was just copies everywhere. So of course I found those in the dollar bin.
Yep.
That I definitely remember when that came out, because the store I was shopping at was like, hey, you need to get in on this.
Yeah.
You need to get in on this. You need to get in on this. So I started, reading, and he's like, well, if I can find one, do you want his first cameo appearance? And I'm like, yeah, if someone comes in and wants to sell it, I'll buy it and whatever. So I ended up having it all, and I've long since sold them all, but I still have the trade. I don't have the one that you have, Pub, but I do have just a soft cover trade. And every once in a while, I'll pull it out and just look at the last. Actually, I look at two parts. I look at the Justice League crossover issue, because I love watching the Justice League getting their asses handed to them.
What issue is that?
Especially Guy, because no one did more than Guy Gardner does. So he's, of course, blah blah blah, running his mouth, and Doomsday's like, I don't even care. I don't even notice you're here. So that issue is great, and then the all splash page last issue is just so powerful and so well. And you're right. Anyone who went to the store that day on that new comic book day, that was a comic book collector, reader, whatever, knew exactly what was going to happen. Give it some time, he'll be back. We all remember, if we were in those lines, that there were other people who were there that were buying it because they in the newspaper or saw it on Entertainment Tonight or something like that, where they're like, I'm going to go buy 10 copies. And as you said, I'm putting my kids through school. So, we're talking to these people on the line, and I'm in my head just going, you're whatever. Okay, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. See, and, I think it's still a $15 book if it's in the bag. I think.
Probably less.
But
I bought mine for less.
Maybe now less. You probably could get a copy for less. The platinum one I know is still worth a little bit, but
yeah. Like the lower print run, right?
Just buy it for what it is. It was a good story, and it was a great finale. Now, some great characters as a result. You got a really cool Superboy out of it. And you got the cyborg Superman that ended up being awesome with the whole Green Lantern storyline.
Dude,
so,
yes.
I mean,
that's another thing.
Impact.
And that's another thing, that the Superman Doomsday led to the whole Reign of Superman, and that led to the destruction of Coast City, which led to what's his name? Hal Jordan going mad.
Kyle Rayner.
Yeah.
Green Lantern.
Yeah. So a lot of things came out of that Doomsday storyline that affected the DC universe. So it was huge. I mean, we got Steel, John Henry Irons. We got Superboy, the Eradicator. I always loved the Eradicator's look. With the glasses and the blue and black. Yeah, I always liked his look. So there was a lot of things that came out of that death of Superman that affected the universe as a whole.
Didn't they bring back the Eradicator in the new Justice League or something like that? He's coming back to the planet to like take over with his group of super soldiers from
In the recent one?
Yeah, or am I wrong? I could have sworn.
The last of the Eradicator I remember was when Peter Tomasi did them in the Rebirth Superman.
Maybe it was that one.
But yeah, I enjoyed Death of Superman. It's always fun, like you said, to go back and read, especially that last issue with them splash pages and the artwork. Just like you feel the thunder from each page every time you turn. It's like an earthquake shattering every time they throw a blow. And the thing about this book is that it has the DVDs to the crappy Doomsday movie that they did prior. This is that first one that.
Yeah, I watched the movie before I read the actual story.
The recent Doomsday movie they did a couple of years back is much better than what's in that book.
Yeah, I just wish I could have actually been a comic book collector within that time, because I was a kid. I was a little kid, and I think I was allowed to read Archie comic books. That was about it. My mom was very strict on what we read.
Nothing wrong with Archie. I still read Archie, and every once in a while, if I find vintage Archies, some of that stuff is hilarious. I tell you what,
I never even knew they were vintage. That's
funniest book consistently. There's jokes almost every panel. I'm like, how are they pulling this off? There's always the straight guy and a punchline, and it's like, how did they do this month after month in so many different books?
Yeah,
but damn. I mean, good stuff. It's fun.
Yep, I remember Jughead's one of my favorites too. I would love to see Jughead versus the dude from Popeye, the guy that's always asking for the hamburgers. Them go head to head. I need to make a comic book about that.
Jughead versus Wimpy.
Yes. Head to head, who will eat the most burgers?
I got a bunch of stuff here that I pulled, but I know we're probably wanting to wrap up. I know you said last one. There's one more thing that I would like to show.
Well,
at least one more set. One more story.
You can always go in and show. I mean, I just said that was the last one that I had. But if you have some, we can always discuss. About what you have, man.
I don't. Yeah, but this ain't my show. It's your show, so. I'm not
hey, you ain't got to worry about it. We be going 3-4 hours, so I can cut it whenever I'm ready to cut it.
Okay, fair enough. All right, well then I am going to cut to the chase, because I am going to talk about my favorite single issue and my favorite multi-issue story arc of all time. And my favorite single issue, I know you went with Action 775, and that's probably in my top 10 easily, top 5 maybe. But my top all-time single issue read is this. Legion of Superheroes Annual #1 from 1982. And this is Paul Levitt's writing, Keith Giffen and Bruce Patterson doing the art inside. And this is one of the earliest Legion stories I ever read. And without giving too much away, it is the it's the Legion of Superheroes meets The Exorcist. And if you're into horror movies and you're into children that like to just screw with people and are evil and sarcastic and will just wreck you, this is the story for you. Every time I find one of these, I buy it, because I end up, when I do AOKs, I'll throw one in if I have one. Mind, I think you actually got one of these.
I did, and I was just going to mention I'm going to do because I unboxed it already, but I'm going to show it off on the gram soon. But yes, I did see that.
This is... I can't watch The Exorcist. I just can't do it. I can't get through it. I can't. It's just too much for me to handle. I'm just one of those guys that I'll watch Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th all day long, but I can't watch The Exorcist.
Yeah.
But this book gives me enough of that where I can really appreciate it, and it really puts me on the edge of my seat. But it's almost like if you watch it at 10 a.m. on a Sunday morning or a Saturday morning, where you're like, okay, the sun is out, everything's cool, I can watch this, I can probably, I can get away with it. But the storyline is fantastic. The young lady who is basically the Reagan character in this wrecks the Legion. It is fantastic to watch. And it was like, wow, these characters are really cool, but they're getting their asses handed to them. But yeah, it was a ton of fun. As far as overall best storyline I ever read, we're gonna stick with the Legion, and we're gonna stick with this era, and this is the Great Darkness Saga, issues 290 to 294, and this is in trade. I believe it's still being reprinted in trade. I know there's been many previous reprints of this. It took a while for them to get there, but once they did, they've printed it several times. This was my introduction to one of probably my favorite villain. I don't want to ruin it for anybody, but most everybody probably knows what happens in this story, just by being around the hobby. But this 5-issue storyline is probably my favorite. No, it is my favorite. There's no probably about it. This was something that back in the early 1980s, instead of getting an Easter basket with candy in it, my mom bought me comics. And it was an Easter basket with comics in it. And I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. And it had a couple issues of this in it. And I was immediately hooked. But the cover art is gorgeous on these. I love the coloring on this one in particular is really, really sharp. I just like that fuchsia pink. And then this one, which this is in a bag. I don't know if you can see it. This is in a bag that was once Omega Men 3.
First level.
So
awesome.
So yeah, there's this. And if you don't want to know who the big bad is in this, and you don't know and you want to read it, you don't want to look at the next book. But I'm going to go ahead and put it up on the screen now. But yeah, this was my introduction to this particular character, and it is absolutely jaw dropping just how good this storyline is. So,
and that's signed, right?
All of these are signed by Keith Giffen. Yeah.
Awesome.
I had a chance to meet him. I never thought I would meet him. I was like, I'm never going to meet Keith Giffen. And he showed up at a Heroes Con, and I got these signed, plus Ambush Bug and his first appearance in Action Comics and a couple others. So, yeah. But that is far and away one of the best comic book story I've ever read.
Sweet.
Awesome, man. This was great topics, man. Great discussion.
I totally agree.
I saw a couple people comment that they really liked that we were just talking about what our favorite reads were, because it's a great idea. Yeah, there's the one. Yeah, Sleepy Reader. Because so often it's really easy to complain. People are much more likely to complain about stuff than they are to praise it. So for us to take some time to say, this book mattered to me. This book changed my life. This book touched me. This book made me cry.
Oh man, I was gonna bring that book up. I was gonna bring that book out.
See, we all know there's certain books that just tug at the heartstrings, and this is.
Hold on, I got one too. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna see if I can find it real quick.
Break it out just in case. If anybody didn't catch it, it's Fantastic Four 267. It's a John Byrne issue, and it is a tearjerker.
Yeah, I was going through my Fantastic Four box. I was gonna bring that out. Oh man, that was a good issue right there, man. There's a couple of great books, man. I got so much. I don't want to bring my whole box in and start going through stuff, but there's so many great stories, so many great stuff to just talk about. And that's the fun thing about doing these shows. It's just getting together and talking about what we love about comics. You know, whether it's the stories, the covers, or any different era. You know, if you've seen Just a Rican and him talking with Ray and Captain Comics, Ray has comics. I think he said yesterday that he got like 75,000 comics, and you know he's 80-something-year-old man with a collection that deep, and it's just the love for comics. You know, we see all these Golden Age books and books that are oddballs that you like, man. You know, that's a collection right there, and that's what we love to just get together and talk about comics. So that's the beauty of getting you guys on the show, you and Mindshift. If we could ever get Dan on here just one day, it'd be awesome. I feel like this is an IG panel right here.
Good old Dan. Good old Dan. What can I say, Dan? What can't I say about Dan?
Oh, I couldn't find it.
All right. You couldn't find it?
No, but it's the Fantastic Four. I forget what issue it is, but it's like when Ben Grimm's like floating in outer space, and he's basically like, "I give up on life."
That's the one with Human Torch behind him.
Yes, that's my favorite one. That talk about pulling at the heartstrings. Like he's basically committing suicide. Like I don't give a fuck. I don't. You know, I'm just gonna let myself go because I failed so many times. You know, I have nothing to live for, basically. You know, and when you're going,
you said that's the one where he's in a spacesuit and he's like floating and his like air hose is broken.
I got 2 copies of that because
that was right at that was like in the 3.0 somethings or 3.10 something like that right after the anniversary issue.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Ben Grimm is another one that whereas he could be comical, but he's a tragic character himself. You know.
I agree. You know, he's even before he became the Thing, he was always someone that was looked at as, you know, like a rough house, you know, him from Yancey Street, you know, I'm a thug, you know. But he was, you know, he was a great athlete, you know. His best friend helped him like get his grades together to, you know, and then he became a pilot, you know. So he was always looked at someone who had to overcome even before he turned into like a rock thing, you know. That's why I have a lot of respect for him, you know, because he's, like you said, he's gone through so much, you know, so much persecution. And then having to deal with dying, come on.
He's a character also that more often than not is written in a very, he's just a good guy. He's got a heart of gold. He's got a good soul. He cares about people. He loves Johnny. Yeah, right?
He
loves Johnny. He's closer than a brother to Johnny. But they act like, and they get in fights and stuff. But
of course, brothers hate each other. They act like they hate each other.
And clearly, I mean, I just flipped through the issue that Hickman wrote where Johnny ends up in the negative zone fighting Annihilation or fighting Annihilus and his horde. And the issue the issue, and he looks through the porthole and because he's watching, and it's the first time I've ever seen or heard or read or whatever. Ben just says, "Oh, John." He calls him John.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, wow, that's different. That's a whole nother level of just, you could tell that is his brother. That is his friend. That is his life. And to see him go out like that was just like crushing, beyond crushing. So as much as I say I'm not into Hickman, issue, wow. Stay Puff, you have to do an episode of books that make people cry.
Yes, let's do. Yeah, I would love to do that.
the tearjerker comics.
Oh yes, there you go.
Episode. People just come on if they just pop in for 5 minutes and say these couple books actually made me cry, because I got another one. I'm gonna share right here in a second, and then I'm gonna stop showing books. Okay, this Amazing Spider-Man with John Romita Jr. artwork. It's Spidey versus the Tarantula and Willow the Wisp.
Oh man, I knew you, that. Oh man, why?
You know exactly
Oh,
what
I
happened here.
read this one.
Oh man.
So this tarantula is just like, I'm done. I want to get beefed up so I can take out Spidey and be a real badass. So he goes, is it Roxxon? Something like that. I forget.
Roxxon Corporation, yeah.
Does some experiments on him, jacks him up, tries to make him a new Spider-Man, and you can see I met Junior, and I'm like, these stories like shook me to my core back in the 80s. So when I got a chance to meet him, I had him sign them. But then, of course, the experiment goes bad, and the tarantula becomes an actual tarantula. And the last issue of this storyline, called Death Knell,
oh shit,
he straight up becomes a monstrous spider. And the ending of this story, straight up, I was sobbing. So
the covers look amazing.
If you can find, and those aren't really expensive books, you find those and read them, it's worth it.
That storyline, like, I posted them issues last year, and I was like, damn, this is such a good. But I had to post them back to back, you know, like storyline day and stuff like that. But man, those are some hard hitting issues when it comes to, you know, emotional impact. And as bad as the tarantula is, you did not want to see something like that happen.
Yeah,
you know, just to lose your complete humanity and become a full on tarantula was just, oh man.
If any of you that either you guys or anybody who's watching ever had to in school read or watch Flowers for Algernon,
no,
it's a story about a guy that has mental illness. He's developmentally disabled, and he undergoes an experiment where his brain starts to actually change, and he unlocks an amount of potential, and he becomes one of the smartest men on the planet. And of course, being what it is, the experiment fails ultimately, and he starts to devolve back to where he was, but then past that to the point where he actually dies. So, spoiler alert, but this is it, you reading the last couple chapters of that book, it's just heart-wrenching because you see him to the point where he is so incapable of thought that he can't communicate. So he's desperately trying to talk to the woman he's fallen in love with, and he can't talk to all these, you know, and it's just him fading into death. And it very much is the way the last two issues of this Spider-Man run is. He's got his faculties, but he starts to lose them to the point where he can barely communicate, and then he just speaks in one-word sentences. And I'll let you imagine as he launches himself off of a skyscraper. Imagine what his last word is. It's so brutal. It is so brutal, but
it makes me think of The Fly, you know, with Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I was
Chris,
like,
that's exact same vibe that you get from it. Yes.
That was an emotional movie to watch, you know, because just to see his gradual decline and transformation.
Yeah.
And then his ending is like, that's hard to watch. You know, it's at any time because he's just losing his sanity.
Gina Davis's act. Well, they ended up, Gina and Goldblum ended up hooking up during the filming of that movie. They were a couple at that point. So her reaction to him at the end, her acting was just phenomenal in those last couple scenes. And that really drove the point home. That's like, even though he is this monstrosity, she still loves him. And it's just like, wow. Just, yeah, it's a heart crusher, no doubt.
Yeah.
Damn, man. So maybe
that was a happy ending. Please talk about something better.
So maybe we could do this on your next appearance. You know, when with tearjerkers. I could thought.
I'm sure I could find more tearjerker books.
Because I know we talked about this on Silver Age Sunday with books that that got you emotional, and tearing up. I know Hialeah brought up a book.
I can think of one right now. I'm not going to say anything, but I can think of one right now. Absolutely, I could so do that.
Yeah, man, that's definitely a interesting topic for your next appearance. We see if I get the guys on here and we just talk about that. But yeah, there's a couple of books I can think of that had me a little teary eyed. You know what book I was gonna bring it up, but it's such a divisive book for me because I hated how they brought her back. Amazing 400, ASM 400. The Death of Aunt May. That hit me real hard, especially at the time when I read the book. This was after I lost my grandmother in 1996. The book came out in 95. I didn't get it till 96. So when I read it, it really struck me. I was crying because I was thinking of my grandmother seeing that. So that was a hard issue to read. And every time I looked at it, it's like, damn, man. But then they gonna fuck it up and bring her back and say that was a fucking clone. I was like, oh.
Yeah, that was a part of the whole clone.
God, that upset me so much because I was like, that was a beautiful way for Aunt May to go out, and to say that wasn't the real Aunt May just irritated me to the point where I don't even like Aunt May no more. I like the Aunt May that died before is the Aunt May that I see that passed away. I don't even like her. Every time I see her, I'm like, man, her story is just passe. Like what more can you do with her? I felt like she lived her purpose. She said that I know you're Spider-Man. She passed away. That was such a good ending for her. And to throw it all out to bring her back, it was like, it just ruined that whole issue now. I don't know. I hate when Marvel do shit like that.
No, I get it, and because for people that are into music or movies or TV shows or comics or novels or whatever they're into, we get invested in the characters and we care about the characters. If they're well written and well drawn and well rounded, we get into them and we care about what happens to them. So we kind of feel like a betrayal, and they're not our characters, but when we feel like they're mishandled, it's like, or a storyline kind of betrays, like One More Day, is you're just like, oh, what are you doing? This is not right.
Yeah.
Then you feel like Annie Wilkes in Misery. He didn't get out of the cock-a-doodie car, and I'm just like, okay, you just want to just jack the writer up by the lapels and say this is not what they would do. But then you realize that you don't have any rights to them. They're not your characters. And if you don't like that iteration, you can go back and find another one. And, you can still read about the characters that you like the way you like them. So that's the way I try to look at it now.
Yeah, because it's stuck in that story. You can always go back and read the story. Just like when the Death of the Inhumans came out, like I was like, oh no! Like as soon as you see like Black Bolt, I was like, nope, I'm done. I'm not reading it anymore. And then like they go, I hear they bring them all back. Oh, they're back. They're not dead. And I'm just like, so what was the whole build up for? They, seeing like Lockjaw just like this get disintegrated. I was just like, but that's another series I still want to go finish. And have it their back, but it was just like that whole build up. Why kill him off to bring him back?
Yeah, so quickly. That makes no sense.
In the same series.
But it's so common now. It's like, look, someone's dead. Well, give it 3 months, and they'll be back. And
from another dimension.
It's no longer interesting to see a character get killed off because I just don't trust it. I'm like, this is not giving me any emotional impact anymore. It doesn't matter to me because I know you're gonna still want to make money off this character. They're coming back.
And the funny thing was, Aunt May's character died in 1995. They brought her back in 1999. So there was a gap where we gotten used to no Aunt May.
Mhm.
And then to just throw this out here to say, oh, that wasn't the real Aunt May that died. This is the real Aunt May. After what, 4 years, I'm like, the fuck are you doing?
But that whole
I done gotten used to Spider-Man without Aunt May. He's living life with Mary Jane. You know, he's moved on from it. And then you just gonna do this? And that was the whole thing when they relaunched Spider-Man. I did not buy no Spider-Man books after that piece of shit final chapter storyline. Like, I was done with Spider-Man at that point. I didn't jump back on until J. Michael Straczynski halfway through his run. But at the beginning, I passed on them early issues of Spider-Man. And that's when John Byrne, I think, was doing a couple issues with Howard Mackey. And I was like, nah, I'm not going to do this. Y'all pissed me off with the whole Aunt May thing. I'm not buying. And then, again, it's that emotional impact. When you get emotionally invested in something, then they find a way to ruin that emotional investment to the point where you don't even want to buy the book no more.
Oh, I've had that absolutely, where I'm just like, I'm out. This is trash. These aren't my people. I'm out. When you're gone, when this is over, and you bring it back, I'll come back. Which is what happened with Spider-Man. We talked about it earlier. How I jumped back in with Superior Spider-Man was going on. That was just an amazing turn. So that made a lot of sense. When Mark Millar was writing Fantastic Four, I jumped off that book faster than I've jumped off of anything, because Millar, to me, mischaracterized everyone on the team. And I said, I can't do it. I can't do it.
And Millar is very hit or miss with me. Like certain stuff
Mostly
of his.
with me now. I don't read his stuff anymore.
Like I brought Prodigy #1 that first issue, and I didn't buy no more. It was okay, but when it comes to Millar, I was like, nowadays most of his stuff is just ready to be put on Netflix. And when you start writing your books tailor-made for TVs and stuff, I'm like, nah, I'm just gonna pass that by. I don't want my comics to be comics. I don't need a comic that's just blatantly written for television.
Agreed.
Yeah, same here.
Definitely agree. Oh man, I'm like talked out.
Yeah. I felt like the last 5 minutes or so, man, kind of extended out.
It got a little bit like I got in my feelings a little bit.
But I'm emotionally drained right now.
But see, this is what, again, what's so great about the community is that we do have passion for it. I just like the fact that the people that I kind of try to surround myself with also have respect for each other. So it's like, all right, I don't like what you like, you don't like what I like, but that's cool because we don't have to. But we can still have fun and talk about what we love. Earlier we were talking about Watchmen. I have no love for that book at all. But I know, again, as far as comic book readers are concerned, there's a lot of people that put that up there as one of the best comic books ever published. I read it once and I'm like, I'm good. At least I know what it's all about. And nope. I think there are many other books that Moore did that were better. But I don't want to get on that whole thing. The point is and another thing. The point is that I enjoyed the opportunity to talk about it, because I don't have a local shop that I go to, and if I did, I probably would get really annoyed with some of the clientele or maybe even the owners. So I like to be able to hang out on IG, hang out here with you guys. I did a podcast last Monday night with Daniel Bracken 23. That was Creases and Corners, and that was a lot of fun to do. And we talked about some of the same stuff, but some other things as well. And I just like talking books, so I appreciate the time and the audience.
I just like talking.
That's what we love doing this shows. Just to talk books and talk comics in general, especially with this whole virus going around. Just getting into everybody's heads and stuff. I mean, MegaCon ain't been canceled yet. They monitoring the situation, but I know Matt, the boy who has 7, he canceled his flight. He said he's not going to come. But I understand his decision. I perfectly understand it.
Yeah, of course. He's a family man. He's gotta take care of what's important, like his kids.
Yeah,
that's priority.
So yeah, I've already seen there's been more cancellations, like as far as like guests are canceling coming, and I get it. I totally get that.
Yeah.
If it happens, I'm going, and if it doesn't happen, I'll understand.
We are planning something in the community, whereas if it don't happen, we still gonna get together.
Yeah, I'm just gonna take advantage of like flights being cheap, and just if it doesn't happen, I'm still gonna come out to Florida and hang out. I already put the time in. I literally took the time off for work. So I'm.
I think hitting up different shops would be great for us. Because we just get to go out and have fun. Comic hunting, probably go chill at a bar or something like that.
Yeah.
As long as we straight and do all the precautions and take all the caution seriously,
yeah,
we should be fine.
Well,
you should be doing this anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Plus, I'll
make it work.
Go
ahead.
I do want to hit up Tampa for some shops. I know they got some shops that Steve go to. I do want to go to the comic club and the store that y'all went to when y'all met up. You, Steve, and Jeff, Glenn. What was that? Y'all?
There were 2 stores. There was Ybor City.
Ybor City.
Ybor City Comics, which it's kind of like a pop-up sort of situation. The other store that we went to afterwards, which was Bull Street, actually closed. So that was unfortunate. But I mean, it was we got a lot of great stuff out of it. But there are several good stores in Tampa and the surrounding area, and actually there's a lot of cool stores even in Ocala. So we'll make it work. We can find places to go. That's not going to be a problem.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Because I know Robert G still wants to come down. He's going to come down. I definitely want to meet him. And
same here. I do too.
There's so many great comic community members that I want to meet. And this whole MegaCon thing was gaining momentum. And then the whole virus thing come out and everything is shutting down. It just kind of like made you worry about it. But if it's shut down, I still want to go out and hang out with you guys, man.
Yeah.
Still got to try to live your life, right?
Yeah.
Of course. They shut my schools down, but I'm still going to be, with the after school program that I work in, we're still going to be having meetings here and there, but yeah, and then this whole thing isn't going to stop me. I'm still going to, all that means I can do some more YouTube stuff while I wait for the school to open back up. You know what I mean?
And maybe I'll be one step closer to doing mine. I don't know. We'll see.
If you jump on YouTube, I'll make sure I'll share your page and everybody's going to sub you up. You'll be at 100 followers, 100 subscribers within a week.
We need to get Angle.
I appreciate that. Now we'll see if they stay. They may, who knows? Once they get a glimpse of what it is I'm doing, they may go, because it's all going to be, almost exclusively small press stuff, and
that's good,
because that's where my love is right now.
That's what makes you different. It doesn't have to always just be Marvel and DC and superheroes and stuff like that. If we get to see small press stuff, it's something different, and it's something new for us to say, wow, that looks interesting. I might be something I'm interested in getting.
Yeah,
that's the one reason why I like certain members of the community is when they show something different. Their page is completely different from normal pages that show a bunch of superheroes and stuff.
Yeah.
If they show nonstop indies, I like it because it's different. That's why one of the reasons why I liked your page, why I like the Cyanide Queefs page, and others is because they had a different taste on comic books, but it's still comic books.
Yeah,
and we're still gonna love it. I brought a book. I think it's a Veil book, and I thought of Cyanide Queefs, who hasn't been active on Instagram since 2018. But I remember when she posted that book, and I was intrigued by it, and I brought it, and I was like, man, I kind of miss her being on Instagram because she just had a completely different page of comics that was mainly horror and stuff like that. But it was awesome. And when you see it, you start getting interested in it and you start picking up books. That's how you get interest in other books that you normally don't buy. So, if you're going to show small press stuff, go for it, I mean, it's your page. Ain't nobody going to stop you from doing it. It's your passion too.
And it's and right now it's the thing that I really am interested and intrigued in the most. And I found so many cool books, early appearances or first appearances of certain creators, and just storylines that I haven't seen before.
One of the books that you sent me in that prize that Robert Galvin, shout out to G Spot. He won this in your giveaway, and I'm looking through these and I'm just like, yo, look, this is awesome. Like Two Brothers Comics says it best, like, collect your way, like whatever you're into, like, look at this. Like, these are awesome, dude. Like, Tomorrow Nights. Look at this. And I'm a huge like sci-fi junkie. Look at these back covers are probably better than the front cover. Look at that. So collect your way.
This used to be stuff that was stuff that I would pass on in dollar boxes for decades. And now I'm actually trying it. I'm like, this is fun.
Yeah.
And not for nothing, you can find some amazing ring dirt cheap if you are shopping 50-cent and dollar boxes. And there, man,
but you're the reason why. Yeah. But you're the reason why I was just saying, like, you're the reason why when I do dollar bin dive, like, I actually pay attention to those small print books because they stand out, Like First Comics, every time I see First Comics, I'm always gonna grab something from them because I'm like, these are like awesome stories, So you have to really be open-minded to like different, even if you don't like them, like at least give them a chance,
And that's exactly my point, and that's well said, because it's just like anything else. New TV show, try it once. Try an issue. If the first issue is there, or the first issue of a story arc or whatever, try it. See what it's like. Because if you're spending 50 cents or $1 on it and it's no good, what are you out?
Yeah.
Virtually nothing in this economy, right? So if you end up with a bunch of books that you didn't really care for, throw them in a pile. And when the pile gets to about 30 books, A-OK it. And say, hey, this wasn't for me, but I know that you're into, different stuff, because we all know that there's people that run in these circles that are into that oddball stuff. Ship it to them and say, hey, hopefully there's something in there that you like. And then they're going to do the same thing. They're going to keep what they want, set aside what they don't. When those stacks up, ship it to somebody.
And then you'll read.
I love the A-OK idea. I love sending books to people. I love it.
And shout out to Robert Galvin. He won your contest and then A-OK'd it to Mindshift.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he does that a lot. When I did my giveaway here on YouTube, he automatically messaged me like, hey, brother, if I win your giveaway, I want to A-OK it to somebody special. And I think it was you, Mindshift, that he wanted to A-OK it to.
Really?
And, yeah. I think it was him that you.
He's so awesome, dude.
Yeah, and he A-OK'd me the book that won me the hunt, that Alvin book.
That's a really good book. That's a really good cover. My brother's a huge fan of like Alvin and the Chipmunks, so it's like,
yeah, I was a huge fan of them too, And when he showed it in the live video, I was like, yo, show that Alvin book again. I like that. And he on Mag said, you like it? It's yours. He put it in my pile. I was like, God, stop. His generosity is just so awesome. That's why I can't wait to meet him, man, because he's such a great guy, and I love when he's on the show and his excitement and enthusiasm. And just like you, Glenn, he shows them oddball books, them books that people don't normally pay attention to, but he has them, and he likes the sci-fi and the Cthulhu stuff. He's just an awesome guy. Shout out to him.
He really is. He really is.
That's why when I didn't catch the episode until you posted in your story that you was on his late show, and I was like, oh shit, I miss that, man. Because sometimes I stay up and watch it, sometimes I don't.
Yeah.
So when I saw you was on the show, I was like, oh man, let me run to YouTube and start watching it, man. And that was a great episode, man.
Is that when I was on?
I definitely want to get back on there. And do another episode with him.
Yeah, and I didn't even know he did it as a surprise because he found out that you and me are really cool, and like when you popped on, I was like, what? Glenn on YouTube? Oh my god! Because it's cool. Like I started off in the IG community. I didn't even know people were doing YouTube. I didn't know you did YouTube Stay Puff. But then was it Zombro? Comic Zombie, like he started showing me all these YouTubers, and he showed me John, Perry. I never even heard of these guys, and I started going down the rabbit hole, and here I am now, talking to you guys in the YouTube community. So that's go ahead.
Yeah, that's the great thing about it. They kind of forced me into it because I think a couple people like, yo, Puff, you need to do a video, you need to do a YouTube, man. You always in the chats, but you got that personality plus your IG is on point. Do YouTube. And then I was like, I don't know about putting myself out there like that. But sure enough, I did my first video. It was a comic haul. And people's like, yes, we got Puff. Now you on lockdown, man. We got a contract. You're going to be on YouTube. And then when I showed up on Silver Age Sundays, my first live video, I remember people like, yo, they got Sean on there? It was Rod, Justin Rican. Rod was like, yo, Sean, you are booked on my shout-out show next week. And then that's when my demand went up. I was like, a demand. And people's like, yo, we need you on the live show, Sean. And it's been fun, it was like a turning moment for me. Same with IG. When I started doing IG and I started to get to know people on there, doing YouTube was a turning moment because now I actively enjoy hanging out with you guys on these videos and talking with you and having fun. It's just been a blast, and I don't know what I would be doing had I not joined IG, because IG was the start of it.
Mm-hmm.
Then YouTube was the upgrade.
Yeah.
So it's been amazing the last couple of years.
I would have never been able to know what books I'm into if it wasn't for you guys, because I started off looking at the books that you guys were posting. Like everybody in the community was just posting. I was like, oh, that story looks pretty good. I'm gonna check that out. And I'll post a little book here and there, and then people start commenting, and you should read this, you should read that, And then you find out that, oh my gosh, I feel comfortable in this community. People want to hear my opinion. They care. And that's why when I started trying to take a chance and post videos, to put myself out there, and build confidence, And plus, I teach, so it's like we're our worst critics, and I guess I do have good speaking skills in terms of just not being shy, and I'm making myself shy talking about myself. But I love it. I love it. I love the experience of being able to talk to you guys and being able to share the books that I'm into, and you guys, are open to those.
Yep.
And that's kind of why I'm toying with the idea, and it's going to happen. It's probably going to be April that I'm going to end up starting to film stuff and post it. I won't be doing lives, at least not at first. I'll probably be doing shorter, just kind of quick hits of, here's some books I'm looking at, some small press stuff I found, and give it a little back history and story on it, and feature some panels and stuff. I have no experience with editing that stuff, no experience with any of it, so it's probably going to be really raw and really ugly up front. But
that's how it always starts out. That's how it always starts out. It starts out raw and ugly and stuff. Dude. And then you get better at it. I seldomly edit my videos, and most of the time it's just a thumbnail and stuff like that. But I'm not hardcore editing like Perry does, or something like Bueller recording the video and then just going to the editing process of 2-3 hours, and that's a lot of time to edit a 15-minute video. So, but I think just doing the video, introducing yourself and what you like and stuff like that will be a great start. You know, how you jump on YouTube.
I agree.
Yeah, that's definitely the plan. And you know, and several people who I've talked to, you know, you guys included, have said, you know, when are you going to do this? Because we really want to, you know, see what you have to do. And that in and of itself is like you said, it's a confidence builder, Kirk. And it's like, man, I feel like people want to hear what I have to say. They, you know, it's because there are people in the community, let's be honest, that are just like, I don't know about that cat. You know, I'm not so sure. But the vast majority, I'm interested in hearing what they have to say. So when people feel that way about me, I'm like, wow, okay, that's pretty great, you know. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm gonna give it a shot, see what happens, and if it doesn't fly, then I still got IG and I still got you guys to come and do. But you know, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
So take the chance and see what happens. Like you said, you know, hey,
That's it.
Like,
what's the worst that can happen?
yeah. You know, that's what I was thinking. Like, what's the worst gonna happen? I'm just gonna put myself out there,
Yeah.
you know, talk about books and stuff. And all I've gotten over the last year was positive things. You know, I haven't gotten a troll on my videos. You know, I may have gotten one thumbs down on the video, but I'm not worried about thumbs down. You still viewed it, so it don't really matter. You giving me the views, so
Yep.
you can thumb it down all you want. I'm getting the views and stuff. So,
Yeah.
but I don't do this for money. I just do it for fun. You know, just to hang out with you guys. You know,
Same here.
like
Go ahead.
tomorrow I'll be doing Silver A Sunday on Javi's channel. We always do Silver A Sunday. We just talk random stuff, mostly comics and stuff.
Remember?
Last week was off the chain. We was talking about everything: food, movies.
No, it was all about food. That's all it was. It was about food. That was an awesome show.
Yeah, it was off the chain. But hey, anything that comes up, man, we make a topic out of it. And we just have fun talking about it.
Yeah, I think Steve. I think it was Steve that said it, but it's like that's the closest show to what it's like to talk, you know, off air, you know, because you're just literally just talking the shit. You know what I mean? Just talking like regular people, you know.
Yeah, and enjoying it. You know, we had a ball. So that's why I look forward to just continuing to enjoy talking with people. It was great to have JB on here. It was his first time on the show. I look forward to having new people show up on my show, you know, because it just means that the community wants to jump on here, wants to chat, wants to talk, and, you know, we just continue to spread the love, you know, and just have fun.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm looking forward to I know that, you know, I'll be on probably again with you, Sean, in a couple weeks. I know I have it marked on my calendar. But I like being able to come on here and talk about it, especially when there's a specific topic where I can like kind of focus and pull and think about, okay, what can I talk about? What do I, because like my knowledge is very limited in certain areas. So next
week we'll be going back to Sword and Sorcery Saturday.
Oh yeah.
And I know JD and Varangian Vigilante. I think this is the third Sword and Sorcery Saturday we doing, or fourth. But we always love to talk, you know, whether it's Conan, Red Sonja, or any books that have sword and sorcery, you know. And JD be giving.
Ooh, what number is that, Kirk?
This is number 6. I won this in another contest too, but this is like the only magazine of Conan that I have, and I love the artwork and opening it up and reading it. It's like all black and white, but this is a great story.
That's a nice book right there.
Yeah. Those magazine-sized books are really cool, you know.
And they have some great pin-up artwork. You know, great. Yeah. And the stories be really good. I love reading through it and stuff. That's why I love doing it, you know. We Conan fans, Red Sonjas, and any other sword and sorcery. And Varangian Vigilante, the man is in Austria.
Yes.
That man knows his history on sword and sorcery. If you ever check his page out, whether it's YouTube or Instagram, he has this wealth of knowledge on sword and sorcery. That's why he was excited when we brought up the idea of doing it.
Yeah.
And, you know, he's a blast. He's always fun to talk with. He always drops some off-the-cuff comments. But I love that guy. And JD is going to bring the heat. So definitely look forward to next Saturday. and that it's gonna be great. You know, it was great having you two guys on here.
Oh yeah, I had a blast,
It
definitely.
was great being here.
No, so we about to wrap up. I want to thank everybody in the chat: Gomez, Poor Mike, Z Collects, everybody that showed up. I want to thank you all for commenting and watching and joining us ramble about comics, because we love to ramble about comics. That's for sure. Everybody who checked this out in the replay, give it a thumbs up. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I want to say thanks to Mindshift. Thanks to Glenn, The Quest for Legends, Jeff Comic 813, Discovery Bay Comics, and Steve Whiten for showing up early on and just having a brief conversation with you guys. It was great. So this is your boy Sean, aka Stay Puft 1980.